The Stewart's TV and Appliance pregame show starts now on the Lorain County Sports Network, your home for high school sports. Tune in for the Coach's Corner presented by Buckeye Community Bank, where we speak to the coaches and get their thoughts on the season, this game, and their teams moving forward. Don't forget, immediately following the last play of the game, join us for the Postgame Scoreboard Show presented by I-90 Nissan, featuring live interviews with players and coaches from around Lorain County. You can watch the postgame show live on Facebook at WOBL WDLW Sports. Tonight's games are brought to you by Lang Optical, Stewart's TV and Appliance, Buckeye Community Bank, Mental Health and Addiction Recovery Services of Lorain County, Justin Miller, Esquire, Jamie's Carpet Shop, Lorain County Visitors Bureau, Lorain County Clerk of Courts Tom Orlando, Derek Hammonds of State Farm Insurance, Lorain County Prosecutor J.D. Tomlinson, Vans Auto Repair and Tire Pros, Lorain County Community College, Jadasco Insurance, Steve Lawson of Russell Real Estate Services, Lorain County Recorder Mike Duran, E.H. Roberts Heating and Cooling, Achieve Credit Union, Jeff Allison of Health Markets Insurance, Ernie's Auto Body, Brian Victor of Howard Hanna, I-90 Nissan, Nick Abraham Elyria Ford, Al Januzzi CPA, Zabo Apparel Company, Valley Chevrolet, Jones Bones Barbecue and Grub, Network Land Title Agency, Big Brothers and Big Sisters of Lorain County, Rich Ramsey for Judge, Brian Baker for Lorain County Commissioner, Rich Resendez for Sheriff, Elyria Jewelers and Repair, Lorain County Commissioner David Moore, Jack Hall for Sheriff, Kelly Dieter for State Representative, and Giovanna Scarletta Bremke. After the break, we will talk to both of the coaches in tonight's matchup. Like, follow, and subscribe to Lorain County Sports Network on YouTube. It's time for Lorain County's Friday Night Lights with WOBL and WDLW Sports.
Getting you set for kickoff tonight here on the Lorain County Sports Network. It's the season finale between the Wellington Dukes and the Firelands Falcons. And it's time now for the Coach's Corner, brought to you by Buckeye Community Bank. Today and tomorrow, your partner for growth. That's Buckeye Community Bank. We're joined by Wellington head coach Rob Howells. Coach, we appreciate you giving us a few moments, as always. And here we are, final week of the season. You know, everybody's kind of taking a look at the playoff picture as we get set for postseason next week. Coach, how much of that have you allowed you and your staff to kind of take a look at? And I guess, you know, how much of that do you want your kids looking at as we enter the final week of the season?
Yeah, and I can't believe it's already here, week 10, and you know, that's what we're kind of talking about. You know, I think we don't really look at it that much. You know, we have gone about our business with a 1-0 mindset. You know, we want to try to win every day, you know, every rep, or whatever the case may be. And, you know, to still have a chance at making it, albeit an outside chance, that's what you work for. You know, hasn't really gone the way we had hoped win-loss wise, but at least we're playing a meaningful game in week 10 here. And, you know, all we can focus on is things that we can control, and that's giving our best effort tonight and trying to go 1-0.
And, Coach, can you talk about the way things have changed for you guys? You mentioned that things haven't gone the way you would have liked wins and loss-wise, and a lot of that's had to do because you guys have been dealing with one injury after another. Can you talk about how that has changed you guys offensively and how that's kind of forced your kids to do things that they weren't asked to do at the beginning of the year?
Yeah, unfortunately, a little bit of the injury bug, and then also just some tough breaks and some tough close games that we just haven't really been able to bounce back from. And you got guys out of position, and we don't have one guy carrying the football right now that was originally running back to start the year. And we started the year as a run first play action offense. So now things have got to change, and we got to try to find different roles for guys and spread it out. And it's when you had problems executing early on, and then you have to change everything, you're still going to struggle to kind of execute. So, all credit to the players and coaches for making the changes necessary. It doesn't stop our work ethic or mindset. It's just, is what it is. And again, control what we can control and try to press on.
When you have injuries, sometimes you have kids that get a chance to play a little bit more. And sometimes that ends up being a very good thing because they get a lot of great experience. Coach, can you think of some kids off the top of your head who have really kind of taken to that extra experience and really gained some valuable ground because of it?
Yeah, I got a lot of young guys out there playing some really meaningful minutes, and Connor Kinser and Bryce Lemkool, and replacing guys that have been injured and getting time, and then even getting to see guys in different roles. Trey Moore. Not enough can be said about his efforts defensively, and now he's getting opportunities to carry the ball and maybe showcase some of the things that he can be about next year for us.
Let's talk about your defense, Coach, and what you guys bring to the table there, because when you talk to a lot of people who have seen you play before, Trey Moore is the first name they talk about on defense. Who or what has really kind of highlighted you guys on that side of the ball?
Again, it's a 1 of 11 mindset. They play for each other. Play for the guys next to them, and we have to be disciplined and do our job, especially with the option offenses that we see in our league and spread offenses. And it definitely starts with Trey in the middle. We work hard as a team. We call it Mental Mondays, and going through a scouting report and different checks and alignments, and he's out there getting us all lined up. And for being undersized in the trenches, Nathan Crossy, Austin Sutherland, Cade Spangenberg. Gives us everything that they got, and plays disciplined football and helps keep those guys off our linebackers, and Connor Shepard, Trey Moore, and Bryce Lemkool, and we're tough, and it's all the credit to the players and the action that they put in and the mindset that they come with every day.
Well, of course, tonight you guys are taking on the Firelands Falcons, a team that certainly had their fair share of ups and downs throughout the course of the season. Coach, as you examine them both on paper and on film, what are some things that they do really well where you think they're going to challenge you guys a bit tonight?
Yeah, again, that toughness is definitely going to be a challenge. They are big and physical in the trenches, probably the biggest team that we've seen all year. And again, we're a smaller, banged-up team, and you can't look at their record at all. They play probably the toughest non-conference schedule that we have in our league, and Coach O'Rourke will have those guys ready to go, and it's going to be a tough matchup. They're much better than what the record says.
And finally, Coach, if you were to narrow down 2 specific keys to a Wellington win tonight, what would those keys be?
Again, we have to play with the tenacity that we've been playing with defensively and try to match their physicality and toughness. And then we, offensively, we have to execute. We've had all season long plenty of opportunities and big plays get called back and go the wrong direction. So we have to execute and limit the penalties and turnovers.
Well, Coach Howells, we appreciate the time. Thank you so much for joining us, and we wish you the best of luck. Getting you set for kickoff in the regular season finale tonight on the Lorain County Sports Network. It's time now for us to get back to the Coach's Corner, brought to you by Buckeye Community Bank. Today and tomorrow, your partner for growth. That's Buckeye Community Bank. And we're joined by Firelands head coach Ryan O'Rourke. Coach O'Rourke, we appreciate the time as always. And well, let's talk about this group of seniors that you have. This will be the last game that they play at this facility in their career. Coach, when you think about this senior group, what stands out and what makes them unique?
You know, I think they just done a tremendous job this season, of kind of coming back each week, so to speak. It wasn't the kind of season we wanted to have, but, in kind of those moments, you can have, maybe some things falter a little bit or, some leadership not show up. But, I think what's been great about these kids is, they've been resilient towards, some of the struggles that we had early on, starting 0-4, and just kept coming back to work each week. And that's really all you can ask for. And, we've put some wins up, again, had some struggles this season, but, they really want to go out, finishing this last week with a win.
And an interesting roster that you have. You do have a decent chunk of seniors. You've also got some younger guys who are getting some big snaps this year, too. Primarily your signal caller and Liam Tobicash. Coach, a sophomore at that position, what has he allowed you to do this year, and in what ways do you think he's grown?
Yeah, I think, on that last part, I think he's shown tremendous growth from the first week till now. I mean, just in terms of, what we're doing offensively, but also just his confidence. I think, early on, playing some really tough teams and, was kind of thrown into the fire, so to speak, right away. But, we've kind of grown our scheme around him, found out his strengths. He's a really good athlete, so we're running a little more option game with him. And he's had some really nice games running the football. And each week, if you look at the stats, he's only improved, as a passer as well. So very excited, about him going into the future.
You were telling me about that offense off there, your usual two-back set, and also kind of incorporating some more of the option into the offense this year too. Coach, going outside the quarterback, who have been some of the key elements in that running game for you this year, whether it's the guys who have been toting the rock or the boys up front? What's kind of made that ground game go for you?
Yeah, definitely, everything starts up front. I think, we've had, we have 2 3-year starters up there on the left side, and Noah Angle and CJ Gillis, and some veteran experience as well at center with Clifford Stahl. So, overall, they've done a really nice job. I think, if you look at our ground game, for the most part, we've been, over or near 200 yards rushing a game. So, that's certainly been a bright spot. And our ball carriers, Colin Scott and Jimmy Berry, have done a fantastic job as well. So, total team effort whenever you're running the ball pretty decent, and that's certainly been a positive for us this season.
When you talk to other coaches in the LC8, a lot of times what they'll say is that you guys certainly have had the toughest non-conference schedule of just about anybody in the conference. How do you think that prepared you guys to get you ready for the season, and what do you think your kids learned from that?
I think what it did was just kind of show us, strengths and weaknesses immediately. Going up against some pretty good teams there. And, ultimately I think, it's such a grind to go through those first 3 weeks. We kind of came out, not the healthiest. So it kind of gave a lot of younger kids opportunities to play, some freshmen and sophomores on Friday nights, and, gain some valuable experience going into the future. So, were those games, certainly you relish the opportunity to play against good opponents. It kind of showed us, what we can do, what we can't do, right? So I think if you looked at, what we're doing, I'd say schematically from week 1 to week 10, it's a lot different, because I think we found, what we are capable of, so to speak, and what we should be kind of gearing towards. So overall, there's some good things to see, and we're excited for our kids, that are coming back to kind of grow off of that, and excited for these seniors to have an opportunity to finish at home on senior night.
Do you have any kids that come to the top of your mind when you think of kids who have really come the furthest or really grown the most since the beginning of the season?
Yeah, I mean, like a kid like Asher Widener that, wasn't a starter last year, but he's been a kid that, just invested so much in himself in the last couple off season to become a starting corner. Just those are kind of the stories that you really appreciate. A kid that, puts and invests so much time into it. And, we always kind of say you get what you put in, right? And Asher Widener is certainly a perfect example of that.
Of course, tonight you're taking on the Wellington Dukes, a team that's had their fair share of struggles throughout the course of the season. Coaches, you take a look at those guys on paper and on film. What is it that stands out about them that concerns you a little bit going into tonight?
Yeah, well, I'd say certainly have a number of talented players, starting at receiver with number 11 there. A very explosive kid in the return game and obviously in the receiving game. I think he's leading the conference in catches and yards. So a very explosive player. The quarterback's, been a multi-year starter. So a lot of experience there. And I think they're very physical and tough up front, So I think, that translates defensively as well. I think those athletes do a nice job over there on the defensive side. So certainly a very tough task. I don't think their record's really indicative of, how good of a team they can be and have been at times this season. So certainly an interesting matchup, with us and them heading into this game.
Well, Coach O'Rourke, we appreciate the time as always. Thank you so much for joining us, and we wish you the best of luck against Wellington tonight.
All right, thanks for having me.
Thank you, Coach. Again, that's Firelands head coach Ryan O'Rourke joining us here on the Buckeye Community Bank Coaches Corner today and tomorrow. Your partner for growth, that's Buckeye Community Bank. We'll step aside and take a quick timeout and come back with more after this on the Lorain County Sports Network.
Coming to you from the land of fire for the final week of the regular season. Tonight, the Firelands Falcons will take on the Wellington Dukes in the final contest of the regular season here in 2024. We're happy to bring it to you here on the Lorain County Sports Network. So glad that you've joined us. We're coming your way from the Lang Optical broadcast booth. Lang Optical, see the difference. Andy Bobarch joined alongside my tag team partner, Max Drummond. He'll be providing the colorful analysis all throughout the season. Edwin Vereen is our director, and we have Sam Sovacle working the cameras tonight. This is the pregame show. It's brought to you by Stewart's TV and Appliance. Shop smart, shop local, shop Stewart's TV and Appliance in Elyria. Max, great to be joined by you as always. Feels like it was just yesterday. We were setting up shop for the lid lifter over at Midview. My, how things have changed over the last 10 weeks, and this is going to be one of those games where, sure, mathematically, both teams are kind of alive going into that playoff race, but if either one of those teams is going to get in, they're obviously going to have to win and hope for a lot of help.
That's right. This late in the season, you're always banking on a couple other things moving and shaking out around you. Also, great to have you back in the booth with us, Bull, and we're excited to bring a Week 10 finale here in the LCA, our first chances to see them this season.
Oh, appreciate that. A bit under the weather last week, but we are ready to rock and roll. And they're going to do the alma mater here in just a moment. But while we have a chance here, want to take a look at those who are going to be calling the game a little bit later on here tonight. Our referee crew brought to you by Justin Miller Esquire, serving all of your legal needs. That's Justin Miller Esquire. Our head referee tonight is Adam Nyrod. He'll be joined by William Posey, the umpire, line judge Keith Waters, head linesman Paul Rader, the back judge is Matt Imwali, and the center judge is Matt Frint. Again, our officials are brought to you by Justin Miller Esquire, serving all of your legal needs. We'll also take a look at the team captains, brought to you by Jamie's Carpet Shop. Shopping made simple. That's Jamie's Carpet Shop. The captains for the Wellington Dukes will be Johnny Kinter, Connor Shepard, Trey Moore, and Ashton Rossler. And the captains for the Firelands Falcons, Colin Scott, Michael Lewis, Carter Lehman, and Noah Engel. Captains brought to you by Jamie's Carpet Shop. Shopping made simple. That's Jamie's Carpet Shop. You can hear the playing of the Firelands alma mater in the background from the Firelands marching band. As a matter of fact, just a few moments ago, they had Logan Parker, who's an offensive lineman for these Firelands Falcons, out there directing the band. That was kind of cool. And now they are kind of congregating in the center of the field, getting ready to play the national anthem tonight. The national anthem is brought to you all season long by Lorain County Prosecutor J.D. Tomlinson. Stay safe, Lorain County. That's a message from Lorain County Prosecutor J.D. Tomlinson. The national anthem is coming your way here in just a few moments, and we'll let that marching band go ahead and take over.
With the playing and singing of our national anthem under the direction of Senior Field Commander Emma Rose Woods.
An outstanding rendition of our Star-Spangled Banner by that Firelands Marching Band. Again, the national anthem brought to you by Lorain County Prosecutor J.D. Tomlinson. Stay safe, Lorain County. Had the coin toss just a few moments ago. Wellington won the toss, and they have elected to defer, as many teams have when winning the coin toss throughout the season. Coin toss is brought to you by the Lorain County Visitors Bureau, celebrating 200 years together. That's the Lorain County Visitors Bureau. Now I'll hand the baton off to my tag team partner, Max Drummond, for our keys to tonight's game. The keys to the game brought to you by the Mental Health and Recovery Services of Lorain County. Max, what do you have?
Well, we'll start with the home team, the Firelands Falcons. And defensively, got to see them step up in the secondary tonight. They're going against a couple quality receivers over there for the Duke, specifically Johnny Kinter. So wherever you see 11, you'll likely see a corner, and hopefully, for the Falcons' sake, a safety over the top. And then over on the Wellington Duke side, let these linebackers feast and have their way on the opposing ball carriers, because they have two guys over 100 tackles. You're going to hear more about one specifically here when we get into our starting lineups. And then just for both sides, there's a lot of young guys, a lot of inexperienced guys getting played tonight. Take advantage of that. Close out the season on a very strong note and going into potential playoffs and into next season. Finish it strong.
Finishing strong is something you'll hear a lot about throughout the course of the night. You know, that's not necessarily something you're just going to hear here. You'll hear it all throughout Lorain County tonight, whether these teams are going on and playing next week or not. Well, let's take a look at our field conditions, brought to you by Lorain County Clerk of Courts Tom Orlando, a proud sponsor of high school athletics. That's Lorain County Clerk of Courts Tom Orlando. This is about as good as it gets for the last week of October. Right now, we're looking at right around 60 degrees, but that wind is whipping around a little bit, making it feel a little bit colder. Max, I was on the field about a half hour or so ago. I mean, the playing surface is in really good shape for being the last week of October.
It definitely is pristine. Still a lot of green grass out there to work with, which is always a plus. And like you said, the wind is moving. Up here we noticed it says 60. Maybe it feels a little warmer to us, but like you said, as the night goes on, those temperatures may dip a little bit. We'll see how each of the players, each of the teams respond to that.
No question about that. Well, let's take a look at the starting lineups and the records coming into tonight's matchup. The Firelands Falcons 3-6 overall, 3-3 in LC8 action. The Wellington Dukes come in at 3 wins, 6 losses, and a 1-5 record in conference play. Now we'll take a look at our starting lineups brought to you by Vans Auto Repair and Tire Pros, your trusted local auto repair and tire shop. That's Vans Auto Repair and Tire Pros. I drove by Vans on my way out here earlier today, and they were loaded to the gills even at 5 o'clock on a Friday evening, man. It shows you how great a business Vans really is. Let's take a look at the Firelands offense. We'll begin with wide receiver number 24, Preston Kirshner, a 6'2", 170-pound sophomore. Number 32, a 6', 165-pound freshman, Carson Lima. In the backfield, number 28, fullback Jimmy Berry, 5'10", 185. A sophomore quarterback, number 16, Liam Tobicash, 6'1", 173. Tailback number 5, Colin Scott, 6', 205 sophomore. Tight end number 43, a junior, 6'1", 205, Aiden Fortner. And now let's take a look at that group up front. Left tackle number 56, Noah Engel, 6'3", 240, a senior. Also a senior on that left side at guard, number 63, CJ Gillis, 6'2", 300-pounder. The center, junior, 5'11", 205, Clifford Stoll. Right guard, number 54, Landon Thomas, 5'11", 227, a sophomore. And the right tackle, number 53, Brandon Atkins, a 6', 255-pound senior.
Looking at the Dukes defensively, we'll start up front. Austin Sutherland, a 5'9", 185-pound senior at defensive end. Then Ethan Ozenbaugh over in the middle at defensive tackle. Cade Spangenberger, he's number 55, just a sophomore. And Nathan Crossy at the other defensive end spot, a 5'11 junior. Then moving up to the linebackers, you're going to hear their names a lot. Connor Shepard, number 12, a 5'9 senior. Trey Moore, better get used to that name because you're going to hear it early and often. Number 20, a junior. And then Bryce Lemkool over at the outside linebacker spot. On the other side in the secondary, Connor Kinzer, a 5'10", 140-pound sophomore. Alex Frank, a 6'1" junior wearing number 4. Grant Kale, a 6' senior wearing number 19. And Johnny Kinter, a 6'3", 200-pound senior wearing number 11 at the other corner.
And we'll take a look at the starting lineup for the Wellington offense and the Firelands defense when Wellington has the ball a little bit later on tonight. Well, let's take a look at the updated injury report brought to you by Derek Hammons of State Farm Insurance. Like a good neighbor, State Farm is there. Visit Derek Hammons of State Farm Insurance. And boy, the injuries have really added up for the Wellington Dukes. And you heard Coach Howells talk about it during the Buckeye Community Bank Coach's Corner about how they're really being forced to play a style of offense they didn't think they were going to have to play. But, Max, they're down a few running backs.
That's right. They're 70% of their rushing yards as a team this year, all not playing tonight, and half of their rushing touchdowns are out. And then there's a few guys sprinkled around, whether it's tight end, on the lines of scrimmage, that they're going to be without. They're going to have to find a way to make do without them.
We've mentioned specific names, but there are so many. And it was interesting talking with Coach Howells earlier this week. He said, look, I mean, the injuries have just added up one week after another. We're now kind of like running a spread, and we didn't think there was any way in the world we'd have to do that. But we're also asking guys like Trey Moore, who are piling up the tackles, as you mentioned. He's actually had to come over from the defensive side to help us out and run the ball. So we'll see him on both sides of things here tonight. Time now for the opening kickoff, brought to you by Lorain County Community College. Kick off your future with LCCC. That's Lorain County Community College. It'll be Alex Frank to kick this off for the Wellington Dukes.
Number 2, Caleb Crawford.
And it was Caleb Crawford announced over the loudspeaker just a few minutes ago. A sophomore, 5'7", a $142. You hear a lot of underclassmen in this matchup here tonight. There are going to be a lot of names that you'll probably hear in the coming years in this matchup here tonight, with both teams being pretty young. Alex Frank will run forward. He will put his right foot into this one. And this is a low kick retrieved right around the 25-yard line. And it's taken up to about the 34. That's where Firelands will begin the opening drive of the game. Max Stinson had about a 9-yard return on that opening kickoff.
Yeah, good line drive catch in the air there and saved a good amount of field position that time.
Firelands offense is led by sophomore quarterback Liam Tobicash. He's rushed for over 380 yards this season. He's found the end zone a couple of times through the year, completing nearly 50% of his passes. I have a gigantic shift here on this very first play. Tobicash will take the snap. He'll run it himself, and he's trapped in the backfield, twisted to the turf back at the 32-yard line. Absolutely nowhere for him to go. Nathan Crossy tore him down for a loss of 2.
Well, he did a great job flowing with the play as Connor Shepard, one of those linebackers, they kind of reversed roles there. The linebacker blew up the blocker, opening it up for the defensive lineman. Normally it's the other way around.
2nd down and 12 coming up here. Ball resting on the 33-yard line. Tobicash will send a man in motion. It's Jimmy Berry, and he'll hand this one off to Scott. Scott has room right side initially, but that hole closed very quickly. Got up to around the 35. Colin Scott picks up maybe 2, and that sets up 3rd down and long.
And initially it looked like a great counter play set up. Noah Angle, he was struggling to find somebody to block, and then some of those guys from the backside did a good job covering space and cutting off Colin Scott.
This Firelands offense likes to put the ball on the ground. They're averaging just over 200 yards a game on the ground this season. Tobicash will grab the shotgun snap and he'll drop back. Rolls out, fires across the middle, has a man open. It's taken inside Wellington territory to the Dukes 48 for a 1st down. They needed 10 yards on 3rd down and long, and they were able to get that to Preston Kirshner. Kirshner, the sophomore, picks up a big 1st down.
And that time just sat down in the middle of a couple of different zones right in front of the 1st down line to gain, and uses his feet to pick up the rest. And they certainly needed that to keep this opening drive alive.
2 men in the backfield along with Tobicash. He's got a pair of receivers lined up near side to the right. And it'll be a keeper. Tobicash goes up the middle, and he's taken down around the 45. It'll be a pickup of just about 4 yards.
I think an interesting point this season has been Tobicash's development, and they had a tough start to the season. They lost their first 4 games in a row, but you got to remember, that's a guy making his first set of varsity starts. I think as the season's gone on, his stats have started to show up, but also just his presence out on the field has picked up.
A big shift here. Scott, the tailback, Barry, the fullback. 2 wide receiver look. They'll give it to Scott. Scott, right side, steps over defender. Out in open space, past the 30, and wrestled down near the 26-yard line. Johnny Kinter with the tackle, but not before the Falcons pick up another fresh set of downs.
1st down, Falcons.
Well, an individual achievement Colin Scott's looking to get tonight is to that 1,000-yard mark, and runs like that is why he's so close to getting it. And just showing off the stiff arm in the hole there, and that was on one of their better tacklers for Wellington, Connor Shepard.
You mentioned it, closing in on 1,000 yards, came in with 950 on the nose. Man in motion, it's Barry. It'll be a keeper by Tobicash. Tries the middle's got some room. Spins his way past the 20, out to about the 19-yard line. A big chunk, and they have entered the red zone. Brought to you by Steve Lawson of Russell Real Estate Services. Selling or buying your next home? Visit superstevesells.com. That's superstevesells.com.
So we've seen a lot of variety on this opening drive, and it's keeping that Dukes defense guessing. Right there, some of the linebackers ended up trying to cut off Barry on what they thought might have been a play to the outside. Great job by the QB there, Tobicash, to just take what's they're giving him.
Luke Gibson, one of their offensive linemen, lined up in the backfield. Scott with the direct snap, takes it left side, turns the corner, he's cut down right around the 5. Johnny Kinter kept him out of the end zone by knocking him down right around the 5-yard line. But now it'll be 1st down and goal for Firelands.
And there's nothing too complicated about that play. Obviously a jumbo package there in the backfield, but he sees the opening going around Noah Engel, their best offensive lineman, you could argue. And like you said, a foot race with him and Kinter, that could have gone either way.
Luke Gibson lined up in the backfield again, this time with Colin Scott once again, getting ready to take that direct snap. Scott gets it again, tries the middle, breaks one tackle, gets into the end zone, touchdown Falcons! It's a 5-yard touchdown rush for Colin Scott. That's his 11th rushing touchdown of the season. And on their opening drive, the Firelands Falcons use 8 plays to go 65 yards to pay dirt. They have an early 6-0 lead with 8:11 to go in the first quarter.
And Firelands offense, when they've hit conference play, it's seen an uptick in their points per game. But even doing it this quickly in under 4 minutes, that was very effective and strong opening drive.
Extra point for Max Davis is on the way and good. 7-0. Firelands leads Wellington, 8:11 to go first quarter on the Lorain County Sports Network. The Firelands offense goes 65 yards on 8 plays. Colin Scott with a 5-yard touchdown rush, his 11th of the season, and that has the Falcons on top of Wellington 7-0 early on in this one. He's Max Drummond, I'm Andy Bolbarch, Edwin Vereen, our director, and Sam Sovacool working the camera tonight. Lorain County's 4 horsemen gathering one final time of the 2024 season before the playoffs begin next week. I missed you guys last week. I'm going to miss the heck out of you guys the next 9 months, too.
Yeah, I don't know what we're going to do on a Friday night when we don't got each other, man.
Squib kick is retrieved by Shepard right around the 37-yard line. He's tackled quickly by Jimmy Berry around the 39. And good hands by Shepard to corral that quickly. You never know what kind of hop that's going to take as that hits the turf and just kind of rolls around out there. And that's also not a gamble you can really afford, because after Shepard, there weren't many Dukes in the area.
No, it was a good job of angling that kick there, that time by Firelands. And now on both the opening kickoff and that one, we've seen not the return men, but some of the up men make some heads-up plays.
Landon Wright, senior quarterback, leads the charge for this Wellington Dukes offense, 6'1", 160-pound senior. He'll run out of the shotgun here, grabs the snap. He immediately rolls out to his right, throws right side. A leaping catch is made close to the 41-yard line, and just not a whole lot of room to run. He got it to Connor Shepard, but Shepard, because he had to stop and leap up to get that, wasn't able to pick up any steam after making the catch. He did pick up 2.
And you hit on it in the pregame, and obviously Coach Howes talked a little bit about it, but that's not really a play coming into the season you'd expect, a throw on first down, but now they've got to try to get ahead of the chains a little bit further because of the inexperience that they're dealing with at running back.
Frank Shepard and Moore all lined up near side left here with a 4-receiver look for Landon Wright. Firelands showing blitz. This pass will go across the middle, caught by Trey Moore. He's stuck after making the grab of the 49, awfully close to the sticks. And it looks like he's got enough for a first down, so a quick hitter across the middle. They find Trey Moore, who's played a more pivotal role in this offense the last couple weeks.
He certainly has, so he's showing up on both sides of the ball. And right there, you called out the blitz before the snap of the ball. Michael Lewis tried to come in, get some pressure off the edge. Unfortunately, left that opening. And great job by Wright exploiting that, hitting Moore for the first down.
Moore lined up as the tailback here. He's the only running back in the formation. He'll be lined up off the left side of Landon Wright. He'll have 3 receivers, far side of the right, 1 lined up near side left. They'll fire right side, caught by Frank. Frank gets to the 45-yard line of Firelands, and he's dragged out of bounds close to the 40. So that'll be a first down for now, although it looks like we may have some laundry back around the 48 of Wellington, and that's going to be a hold against the Dukes.
It is going to end up that way, and Carter Lehman for the Firelands defense read that screen immediately, and he beat the Wellington receiver on that angle, and only reason he didn't make the tackles, well, because the penalty there.
We get to the rest of this offense. We mentioned Trey Moore is going to do a hybrid fullback running back role, 5'10", 180-pound junior. Grant Cale as well, 6 foot, 150-pound senior. Tight end Justin Cottrell, 6'2", 160, a junior. We'll get to the rest of the offense here in just a moment. It's 1st and 20 now for the Dukes. They'll run this play from their own 40-yard line. Landon Wright by himself in the backfield will send a man in motion. They'll hand it off to that man in motion. That's Cale. Cale trying to turn the corner, but he's tackled at the 41. Just a 1-yard pickup. Max Stinson, the safety, came up to get him. And it'll be second down and long. Johnny Kinter, wide receiver number 11, 6'3", 200-pound senior. Connor Shepard, a name we've called a couple of times already, 5'9", 160-pound senior. Up front, left tackle Austin Sutherland, left guard Nathan Crossy, the center Alex Sparks, right guard Cage Spangenberg, and the right tackle number 70, Ashton Rossler. Second down and 19 from their own 41-yard line. Firelands again showing blitz on the left side, now backing off. Back to pass. Right, rolling out. He's being chased by Noah Engel. Fires this out of bounds on the far sideline. Boy, Noah Engel was all over him. 6'3", 240-pound senior. Closed that window pretty quick.
He really did. I think that's a perfect transition into this Firelands defense because him off of the edge, he's a lot to deal with. Then in the middle, they've got Patrick Geist as well as C.J. Gillis and Lucas Gibson on the other end. We saw him in the backfield last drive on offense. Moving up to the linebackers, Michael Lewis, a senior at outside backer, Carter Lehman, the other outside backer, also a senior, and Jimmy Berry in the middle. And lastly, in that secondary, it's going to be asked to do a lot tonight. Asher Widener at 5'9", 160 over at the one corner. Sam Charlie at the other, a fellow senior. Max Stinson, you mentioned him on the tackle at one of the safety spots. And then freshman Carson Lima wearing number 32 out there.
Third down and 19 for the Dukes. Four-man rush for Firelands. Right, dumps it out left side. Caught by Moore in the flat. Lowers his shoulder at the 45-yard line. It takes four different Falcons to bring him down at the 46. They picked up about 5. And ironically, it took about 5 to take Trey Moore down.
No, it certainly did. And that first hit, I mean, that might be up there for our big collision of the game brought to you by Ernie's Auto Body. That was two guys who were trying to refuse to let the other one gain any ground.
Bryce Lemkool on to punt now for the Dukes. The snap will take him back to his 35, rugby-style kick. He'll get this away, a bit of a wobbler, and this will be caught right around the 18-yard line, and a flag comes flying in at the very end of the play. I was a little bit surprised to see them come away with that, and I believe that was Carson Lima on the return. And when he caught that, I thought he's probably going to call for a fair catch. He said, "The heck with it, I'm going to try and do something with this."
Yeah, the freshman wanted to make something happen, continue to add to this lead, and we'll see what they end up with the final spot of the ball.
I think he meant to throw a different marker. He threw his penalty flag down. He meant to throw his marker down to spot that. So with 5:50 to play, here in the first quarter, it's 7-0 Wellington trailing Firelands. And we have a late substitution. You're right. Yeah, you're right. That's Lucas Green coming off. And it'll be the freshman Carson Lima coming on. Ball at the 19-yard line for Firelands. They lead 7-0. Tobikash hands this one off inside to Colin Scott. Scott's able to get past the 20 to maybe the 23. About a 4-yard pickup.
And on the opening drive, seeing Scott lined up as the direct snap to him, just a nice wrinkle to throw into this offense, and leaves Wellington with a lot more to have to adjust to, even trying to guess if he's going to get the ball when he's lined up traditionally.
Two tailbacks in this formation. Tobikash hands it off to Scott again. Scott trying the middle, plows his way past the 25 up to the 26, so he gets a couple, and that makes this third down scenario a bit more manageable for the Falcons.
It certainly does, and that's been what's made them so efficient here in the opening quarter, is staying on schedule and staying in tune with the chains. Another third and short. They can choose to run it with Scott again if they'd like, or open it up with Tobikash, let him use his legs. Either way, they're pretty open to their playbook here.
It'll be third down, and we'll call it a long 2. Tailbacks all over the place in that backfield. It'll be a direct snap to Scott again, and he gets wrestled down near the 29. That's going to be close. From here, it looks like he's got it. And the official on the near side is indicating it's a first down. And the chain gang will follow suit. He did pick up just enough to move the sticks.
Well, and that was thanks to the extension he put on at the end of that play. Ozenbaugh obviously going at him up top, but Trey Moore had him by the legs, so that extension ended up being very crucial to move the chains.
Scott's off the right hip of Tobikash. Got Berry lined up on the left side as a wing. They'll send him in motion. They'll give it to Scott. Scott dragged down from behind at the 32-yard line. picked up a little bit of steam. But again, it seemed like the edge kind of collapsed quickly because Nathan Crossy came off the edge there to slow him down after a pickup of just a couple.
Yeah, and that's one where you see initially, oh, they're going to get him at the line of scrimmage for a loss, but he just happens to fall forward, and Crossy may be coming in at the same size as Scott, so that's a tough tackle to make.
You're right. Crossy at 5'11", 200 pounds, a senior. Came in just shy of 60 tackles on the year. Tobicash throws right side, caught by Berry in the flat at the 30-yard line. He's escorted out of bounds near the 42, but a flag was thrown about 3 yards shy of that. And this is going to be a hold against Firelands.
It's interesting. We had two, so there was one at the end of the play, one at the middle of the play where the linemen were blocking during the rollout. So got to imagine one of those tackles got away from the lineman.
Holding on the offense.
It's a hold and it's a chop block going against Firelands. So there's 2 penalties here.
And just a few minutes ago, we talked about how efficient they've been tonight. This is where we've seen teams throughout this season set themselves back and get in trouble with the penalties.
Our head referee tonight is Adam Nyrod, and he was talking with Firelands head coach Ryan O'Rourke to get this scenario figured out. One of the penalties is declined. That's the hold. The chop block will be enforced. So that changes this quite a bit. This will put the ball inside the 25 at the 24-yard line.
And these are situations, as far as Tobicash has come this year, just being a sophomore, you don't want him to have to be in where a lot more pressure is heaped on his shoulders now to try to get them back closer to the line, the original line of scrimmage.
And now the officials are getting together again on the near side to talk about something, but it looks like they figured that out pretty quickly. Second down and long coming up for the Falcons. Tobicash back to pass. Facing some pressure, setting up a screen. They get it to Scott on the screen. Takes it past the 30. He's got room to run, making a move inside. Stumbles down at the 41-yard line. And they pick up all that they lost on that penalty and then some for another first down.
First down, Falcons.
Grant Kale came up to make the tackle. And he did so after he was kind of turned around and had to make an awkward tackle on that play, but he did just enough to slow him down, but he had still picked up the first down.
Yeah, it certainly saved anything worse from happening, but they take advantage of the Duke's aggressiveness in that front 7 so far with the screen.
First and 10 at their own 41-yard line. They'll give to Scott again. Scott room to run up the middle. He goes up to the 49-yard line, picks up 8 yards. Alex Frink in on that stop, along with Ashton Rossler.
And so far, the main reason Firelands is having a lot of success running the football here is these linebackers, they're getting covered. The offensive line is doing a good job getting downfield. And Scott, he's not getting hit until at least the second level.
Barry goes in motion. They'll hand it off to him. Barry tries the middle, works his way up past the 45, and he's tackled at the 42-yard line. And look, Max, that's going to be a real problem for the Dukes all night long. If they can't find a way to stop the Falcons from running up the middle like that, it could be a really long night.
You've got that right. And they, unfortunately for Wellington, Firelands has several guys to choose from who are veterans as well at the running back position, as they're both in full capacity, Barry and Scott.
Both Barry and Scott in the backfield here. And now they shift things up a bit. They've done this on offense at least a few times here tonight. And a flag is thrown from the official on the far sideline. And that's going to be offsides against Firelands.
So it appears after the shift, maybe either one of the receivers or one of the tight ends there, just a hair forward more than they should have been.
Well, it's 1st and 15, but they have been in a similar predicament on this drive before, and they've overcome it.
That's right, and they've done so with a nice variety of play calling. We'll see. I'm excited to see what they have in store here.
Tobicash wants the snap. He gets it. They'll hand it off to Scott again. Right side, he's got some room. Past the 35-yard line, and he's dragged down at the 25 for a first down. Cade Spangenberg, one of the defensive linemen trailing that play, came back to take him down after another first down.
Well, that's great effort the Dukes coaches, I'm sure, love to see, but obviously the run, that one going for 22, as he may have had a couple guys in the backfield that he should have had to get around, but he's just got some nice burst, and he carried that momentum all the way down to the 25.
Coming up on the 9th play of this drive. A 7-0 lead for Firelands inside of 90 seconds to play in the first quarter. They'll hand it off to Scott again. This time he slips as he tries to make a cut. He was cut down near the 27-yard line. Connor Shepard, the first one in on that stop, along with Nathan Crossy.
A few times now we've seen Firelands offense choosing to almost leave the backside end unblocked, and sometimes the backer. And right there, Shepard, he had enough. He'd seen enough of Colin Scott running wild, and he did a great job shooting through there for the maybe loss of a yard or so.
Yeah, and even if he doesn't slip trying to make that cut, again, both Crossy and Shepard were right there to greet him. Setting up second down and 11. Toby Cash will keep this one. He's being pressured, dumps it across the middle, caught in the screen by Scott. Room to run past the 20. Trey Moore will drag him down at about the 15-yard line, and they will move the sticks again, making their second trip inside the red zone. Brought to you by Steve Lawson of Russell Real Estate Services. Selling or buying your next home? Visit superstevesells.com.
Well, that play was bizarre from the start. So Tobicash may have been play action in use, but it almost looked like he wanted Scott to take it, and he had a couple linemen downfield, so Scott had to be aware, catch that ball behind the line of scrimmage so there's no penalty, and he moves the chains. I mean, could have been a disastrous play right there to set them back, but great adjustment by those guys.
And they don't appear to be in any kind of a hurry. They're going to wait until the second quarter to run this next step. We have reached the end of one. It's Firelands 7, Wellington 0 on the Lorain County Sports Network.
For Maggie Tansey.
7-0 Firelands leading Wellington at the end of one here on the Lorain County Sports Network. And for the Falcons, it'll be first down and 10 from the 15 of the Dukes to begin this second quarter. Tobicash, sophomore quarterback, rolling out to his right, throws this one. It's intercepted by Alex Frank. Frank picks it up at the 5. He's past the 15, and he's dragged down just outside the hash at the 19-yard line. A huge interception by Alex Frank. That's his 5th interception this season. And a big shift in momentum early on in the second quarter.
And that's been a strength of this Wellington defense, forcing turnovers. Now their 13th one forced on the season. And right there, it appeared Tobicash was looking for Aiden Fortner. He might have had him near the goal line. Unfortunately, as you alluded to, Frank did a great job just slipping back there from the flat and now changing possession.
We'll get our second look at this Dukes offense. First time they had the ball, they were forced to punt on a drive that began at their own 39-yard line. Right, fakes the pitch left, rolls out to the right, throws it down the field. A nice leaping catch is made by Kinter, and Kinter takes it up to the 30-yard line. Picks up right around 12 for a first down. Michael Lewis in on that stop, along with Samuel Charlie.
Tackled by number 15, Michael Lewis.
That's the first catch we've got to see tonight so far for Kinter. Expect a few more, and that had to be a very good throw, because if he throws that anywhere behind Kinter, there was at least 2 Falcons in the area to either break it up or possibly get an interception of their own. So good job throwing on the run that time by Landon Wright.
Well, it looks like Samuel Charlie wore the worst of that as he's favoring his left arm, coming off to the near sideline. 2 tailbacks in this formation for the Dukes. Wright will take the snap, and they're going to give this one to Kale. Kale takes it inside the 30 to the 32-yard line, and that looked like an RPO there, and they weren't quite sure who was going to take it.
Yeah, and that's honestly the best outcome of that play. almost would have liked to see Wright kind of keep carrying him along, keep confusing that defense of who do we need to tackle. But either way, no fumble, and you gain a couple yards, so it ends up working out for the Dukes.
I'm sure as a coach that makes your heart skip a couple of beats.
Got that right.
There are a lot of things that could go wrong there. About a 2-yard gain, setting up 2nd down and 8. Trey Moore off the right hip of the quarterback, Landon Wright. Came into this game with just over 1,200 yards through the year. He'll drop back, throws this one right side, looking for Kinter. He can't make the catch, but a flag is thrown at the end of the play. Kinter's a number that they're going to dial up a lot here tonight. Kinter came into this game with just over 730 yards receiving, and they clearly saw a matchup on the outside that they liked.
Yeah, Kinter is one of the top receivers, not only on this team, obviously, but in the conference. And also got to give a shout-out to Nathan Crosby at left guard. He picked up the blitzing Michael Lewis that time, gave Wright enough time to let that ball go, and then get the draw the penalty.
Pass interference was the call against the Falcons. So it'll be 1st and 10 here again for the Wellington Dukes. They've got the ball just a couple yards shy of midfield. And they, of course, are coming off a loss last week against Keystone in a game where they scored first. It's a direct snap to Kinter. Kinter trying to turn the corner left side. He's able to get to the 50 where he's stuck. 2 flags were thrown simultaneously as he gets inside Firelands territory. Got to about the 48. But let's see what the laundry's all about here.
And what another collision. That's a couple now in the opening part of this game. And you alluded to it there. Kinter in a trick play, not that was, but he was able to throw a touchdown pass last week for the Dukes.
So it's going to be a hold against Wellington. The result of the play was a pickup of about 4 yards, but again, this is all coming back. This will march it all the way back to the Wellington 42. So altogether, they'll end up losing right around 10 yards on that because the end of that last play put them 2 yards inside of Firelands territory. And now they're looking at 1st and 16. Landon Wright drops back to pass. Throws to the right side. The pass is caught by Grant Kell at the 45. He's hit immediately by Jimmy Berry. He gets a few yards on that.
Tackled by number 28, Jimmy Berry.
Jimmy Berry made sure that the second he caught that, he wasn't going to march any further down the field, and now it'll be 2nd down and long. 2nd down and about 12.
Right there, we definitely saw the Falcons play a little bit more conservatively than we're used to in this game, trying to keep everything in front of them. Didn't feel the need for a blitz. Still 2nd and long here for Wellington to have to work with.
Good to see cornerback Samuel Charlie back in the game. He came out, albeit momentarily, earlier on this drive. High snap, Wright brings it down. Facing pressure, rolls out left side. The pass is caught and then dropped along the far side, incomplete. He was trying to get that to Connor Kinzer. And even if Kinzer hangs on to that, he would have fallen to the turf really close to the original line of scrimmage. So it's 3rd and 13.
That's right. Still leaves them in a similar 3rd and long situation here. And I may have jinxed that Wellington offense because as soon as we mentioned, they're playing back, keeping everything in front of them, right there they dial up another blitz. So it'll be interesting to see how Firelands, if they're aggressive or not on this 3rd and long here, or if they try to trust their defensive backs in coverage.
Wellington will come out of the huddle, needing 13 yards on 3rd down. They trail Firelands 7-0, 9:37 to play, 2nd quarter. Trey Moore, the only tailback in the formation in this 4-receiver look. They'll pass it left side. Alex Frank in a double pass. Throws this one down the field. It's a jump ball. However, coming back for it and making the catch is Shepard. Connor Shepard comes back to make the grab. And for now, it's a 1st down, but there is a flag back at the 35-yard line. A double pass for the time being. Picks them up a 1st down, but it's a hold going against Wellington.
And we may have hit those watching with some foreshadowing a couple plays ago when we talked about how they got their first score last week against Keystone. And right there, pretty good coverage. Good job not biting on the first pass there by Firelands. Just a better play in the air by Shepard. obviously the holding, though, will restrict that.
Well, now you're looking at 3rd down and a country mile. They have to get all the way past the Firelands 43, and they'll snap this ball from their own 35. They've got to go almost a quarter of the field to pick up a fresh set of downs. 3 receivers lined up near side, which is also the short side here. Trey Moore, the tailback, and they will have Johnny Kinter lined up far side left. They'll set up a screen. They throw it to Trey Moore. Moore is able to get up to about the 35-yard line. He's going to push that pile forward past the 37 and maybe the 38, and that's just not going to be enough. Well, there was a major collision at the very, very start of that tackle, and then a bunch of bodies hit the deck, and now we have an injured player down for the Falcons right around the 39-yard line. We'll step aside and take a quick timeout. 8:47 to play, second quarter. Firelands 7 and Wellington nothing on the Lorain County Sports Network. Good to see Asher Widener coming off the field under his own power, limping a little bit, but he appears to be all right. And again, the good news is he's walking off under his own power. So it'll be a punt for the Dukes here. Bryce Lemcool will get this one away with some pressure in his face. Carson Lyman lets this one take a hop inside the 25-yard line, and this will be down right around the 21 by David Roldan.
Down around the 21-yard line.
So a pretty good punt by Bryce Lemcool. And this Firelands offense, which has looked pretty sharp for the most part, with the exception of the interception thrown at the end of their last drive. Yes, Max, they've been able to move the ball down the field.
You're absolutely right. They've been able to go the length of the field, and they've done it efficiently without needing any chunk plays or electric plays so far. Obviously, a couple guys like Colin Scott may have something to say about here as this third offensive drive gets underway.
I'm just not used to seeing Sam with us. I looked down, I saw Sam, and I said his name, and I was trying to call for you.
He's in our eye line now.
He is. He's right in our eye line. Liam Tobikash calls for that shotgun snap. They're going to give this one to Colin Scott. Big room to run outside. Makes a cut outside past the 35. Down the near sideline he goes. He'll step out of bounds at the midfield stripe.
The ball carrier.
A 29-yard rush.
30-yard run on the bounds at the 50-yard line. First down, Falcons.
Well, Colin Scott, we mentioned this during the first quarter. He needed 50 yards to go over the 1,000-yard mark, and making some serious strides here tonight. He's been on a roll, Max.
That's right. He's over 100 already, and that big run right there gives him a nice average of 7.8 a carry on the night.
Well, this ground game has been able to get on track immediately. They'll send Kirshner in motion. It'll be a keeper by the quarterback. Tobikash takes it left side. Grant Kale will knock him out of bounds, and we have 2 flags on the play. So there was one back around the 50 in the area where you normally see holding, and then there was another right after Tobikash was ripped out of bounds on the near sideline.
That's right, and the Firelands sideline did take exception to that, what they felt was an extra hit there. And certainly in the territory of holding was the first one, of course, but yeah, that one might add a little extra fire to these guys here in this upcoming couple of plays.
So it's a hold against Firelands, dead ball personal foul going against Wellington. And now the officials are talking this over, how they want to assess the penalty yardage here. So our head referee, Adam Nyrod, is explaining all of this.
I guess the question is if the personal foul will carry more weight or if they will just offset.
Well, they're going to march off the penalty yardage. They march it 10 yards back, and now they've got to march it 15 yards forward. Could have just marched forward 5, right? I guess.
Keep the blood moving, keep the legs going as the temperatures continue to drop out there. That may
make sense.
Maybe their motivation there.
They'll put the ball at the 45 of Wellington. It'll be first down and 5. Barry and Scott in the backfield, along with Tobicash. Tobicash will give it to Scott. Scott up the middle, plenty of room to run. Makes a cut to the near side. Down the near sideline, he goes to the 15-yard line. He's shoved out of bounds. David Roldan knocks him out near the 10-yard line. And yet again, the Falcons are inside the red zone.
First down, Falcons.
That one will officially go for 34. And if you're Wellington, you're doing a good job getting off of blocks on the backside, but Scott's been too quick in establishing through the line of scrimmage, and it looks like on your camera that they're within grasp of him, but he's just too quick to get out of there.
Last time they were down here, they took a shot through the air. Alex Frank came away with the interception. And now they're going to go with this wildcat look again. Colin Scott lined up in the shotgun. They'll send a man in motion. It's Kirshner. Scott takes it straight up the middle, and he'll be cut down from behind right around the 7. So he picks up a few on first down.
Well, and it worked so well that first drive, it's almost an automatic to go back to it and just let Scott keep grinding out this defense.
So we'll see Liam Tobicash enter the equation again. And they've done that a few times. They brought the big fellow, Luke Gibson, out there, a senior lineman, 5'7", 220-pounder. And they've lined him up as a tailback or a fullback along with Colin Scott. This time Scott is on the left side of Tobicash. Tobicash will send a man in motion. He'll keep it himself. Runs it left side. Got some room, and he takes it into the end zone. Touchdown, Falcons. A 6-yard touchdown rush for Liam Tobicash. And Firelands will take a 13-0 lead with 7:14 to play here in the second quarter.
That time they used Scott as the lead blocker. He had nobody to get except for maybe a corner or somebody in the secondary, and Tobicash just patient enough to follow him through the hole there. This Firelands offensive line moving people at the moment and making them a very efficient offensive unit right now.
Davis on for the extra point. It's on the way, and it is good. Firelands 14, Wellington nothing, with 7:14 to go in the second quarter on the Lorain County Sports Network. A 6-yard touchdown rush for the quarterback, Liam Tobicash, and that brought an end to a, well, pretty short drive if you consider the total number of plays, but a pretty long drive when you consider the number of yards that they had to use to get to the end zone. It was a 79-yard drive, and they were able to get there on just 4 plays. The end result, a 6-yard touchdown rush from Liam Tobicash, making it 14-0 in favor of the Falcons.
the common theme of that drive is what's been successful for most of this game so far. Colin Scott, 3 of those 4 carries, giving him 15 total on the night so far.
Squib kick bounced off of one of the Dukes. Loose ball on the deck right around the 40-yard line. Firelands says they've got it, and they do. It was recovered by Darren Aslaskin, a senior 5'7", 146. And look, that kickoff took a couple of weird hops. It hit off a Duke right around the 35. And then the loose ball was picked up by the Falcons after a pinball around.
Well, we've seen a few of those, nothing like that they've had to deal with, but the first couple kickoffs, guys had to adjust or catch it midair right there. We see the first receiving team group not be able to pull it off, and now the best starting field position for either team so far tonight.
And the way this game is going, you get the impression that Firelands maybe trying to turn that dagger in and kind of twist it on this drive.
And that's right, Colin Scott doesn't look tired to me.
No, not at all. It'll be a give to the fullback, Barry. Barry ran into his own man, Colin Scott. He's still able to stumble his way up to about the 36 for a gain of 5.
There's a weird collision at the point of attack there between Trey Moore, the linebacker, and Colin Scott. Somehow Moore was able to hang on to Barry for dear life there and only limit that to 5.
Timeout has been called by Firelands head coach Ryan O'Rourke. Timeouts are brought to you by Lorain County Recorder Mike Duran. Securing and organizing real estate documents, that's Lorain County Recorder Mike Duran. Firelands 14, Wellington nothing with 6:50 to go in the second quarter on the Lorain County Sports Network. Coming out of that Firelands timeout, Falcons have it 2nd down and 5 at the Wellington 36-yard line. They're leading 14-0. This drive began after they recovered a fumbled kickoff. The give will go inside to Barry. All kinds of room to run. He's off to the races. Jimmy Barry's into the end zone. Touchdown Firelands. A 36-yard dash to pay dirt from Jimmy Barry, a senior junior fullback, 5'10", 185. He finds the end zone for the 4th time this season.
And I don't know how this is possible, but it looks like he has more burst out of the hole than Colin Scott does. And that was another example of the Wellington linebackers just being covered up there, mostly by the guards, but just that offensive line. They're getting the 1st and 2nd level. That time, no safety on that side of the field. It's practically over at that point.
Davis on for the extra point. Low line drive kick is good. So that makes it 21-0. Firelands leading Wellington with 6:42 to play. Because we just took a timeout, we'll go ahead and we'll keep this one right here, Max. And I want to remind you that the first snap of every half is brought to you by Janasco Insurance. The protection you need, the service you deserve, that's Janasco Insurance. Speaking of, Maria Janasco will have all the scores for you during the I-90 Nissan and Sheffield Village postgame show. Maria will be back at the Radio Ranch along with Dave Grenchinsky, Paul Williams, and the entire gang. Big John, David Cubey back there also. As we wrap up the regular season tonight, they'll have all the final scores. They'll set the stage for the playoffs next week. That crew does a wonderful job. It makes my drive home, no matter where we are, whether we're down in Sullivan or we're out here in South Amherst, makes my drive back home so much faster. Listening to the gang tell you all about what went down on a Friday night here in Lorain County.
It really does, and you get to stay informed, and this is the most crucial time of the year. You got to know who's in, who's out of the playoffs, conference title races.
Kickoff takes a big hop, and that will go out of bounds. A good play by Alex Frank on that far side. Kind of stepped out in front, of that coverage team to cut them off from getting to the ball, let that go out of bounds so they could take the procedure penalty.
The heads-up play, you can also tell he was kind of boxing out some of the Firelands guys. He's like, no, you're not getting this again.
Speaking of, well, we're not that far away from the start of that season. Right around Thanksgiving time, you'll hear the sneakers squeaking across gymnasiums all throughout the county. Won't be long.
It'll be cool seeing and hearing a couple of these same names that we're hearing on Friday nights, and obviously a couple new ones when that season rolls around.
No question about it. Landon right, back out there with the Wellington offense. Drops back to pass, looking left. He'll throw this one down the field, looking for Kinter. He almost made an acrobatic one-handed catch, but he came down out of bounds.
Second down.
Well, you can see why that's a matchup that they like a lot and why they've called his number not only a lot tonight, but throughout the season, Max.
Well, he was paired up on Lucas Green, who, as a corner being 6 foot, that normally bodes pretty well for you. Kinter's 6'3", and, I mean, if he had access to both hands there, he might have been able to toe tap along the sideline there and make that grab.
2nd and 10 for the Dukes. Shifting some personnel here. Moore again, the tailback. They've got 2 receivers lined up on each side of the line. They'll send a man in motion. They're going to give this one to Moore straight up the gut. He goes nowhere to go. Well, there was a big collision right up front there. C.J. Gillis, one of the first bodies there to plug that hole.
63, Curtis Gillis.
And unfortunately for the Dukes, Max, this is a position they've been in a lot tonight.
It has, and they don't have much of a running game at this point in the season to work with. And even if they did, they wouldn't be able to utilize it here to try to throw off the pace of this defense, which can now pin its ears back. And we've seen them try that a couple times. Could see it again now with nobody in the backfield next to right.
Right now they're rushing forward. They'll send Moore in motion. Back to pass, right, throws across the middle. It's intercepted. It's picked off and taken up to about the 40-yard line.
Intercepted by number 32.
Intercepted by Carson Lima, the freshman, a 6 foot 1 inch, 165 pounder. That's his 2nd pick of the year.
And that's what we talked about in the pregame. A lot of young guys now. He has played a good amount of snaps, but there's a few more that haven't. But that play right there catapults you. A lot of momentum heading into whenever that next game will be for these guys.
Yeah, and look, the playoff scenarios have kind of been etched out. Let's just say that chances are highly unlikely for Firelands. Even if they win here tonight, you would have to hope for some unbelievable upsets across the area. And for Wellington, it's a bit far-fetched. Even if they were to come back and win this one, they would need a lot of help too. But this is also a contest here tonight. Look, they had a lot of seniors that they honored before the game, and you know this game means a lot to them. You always want to go out on top, and you know these guys will get plenty of snaps here tonight regardless of the score. Tobicash will grab the snap, and he's in some trouble trying to dance his way out of a tackle. He'll throw that one to the turf right around the 44. For a moment there, he was in the grasp of Ethan Ozenbaugh, a senior 6 foot 230. Somehow got rid of that, but I think we do see some laundry on the field, and it looks like grounding will be the call. It is indeed intentional grounding.
And I totally understand him wanting to make a play on that one. That may have been one where you take the sack, you lose around 9, but you still get to keep the down at 2nd. Now, no production of any kind on the play and 2nd down still. So just a nightmare scenario to start this drive.
Firelands with 2 turnovers forced in this game. One, a fumbled kickoff. The other, a few moments ago, an interception from Carson Lima. They lead 21-0. Just over 5.5 minutes to go in the 2nd quarter. Tobicash rolling out to his right, looking down the field, airs this one out. He's looking deep for Carson Lima. The pass is knocked around and it's intercepted. It's Alex Frank off the deflection. Takes it to the near side. He stumbles and falls at the 28-yard line. After the pass was intercepted, a flag came in from the far side. The laundry laying right around the 35-yard line. Alex Frank with his 2nd interception of the night and number 6 on the season.
And that one definitely took some teamwork. I believe Kinter maybe even helped tip that to him. And it was a nice play setup, but ended up being able to have double coverage because the two guys on routes running streaks right next to each other. So good job by the Wellington defensive backs to adjust and just have a numbers game in favor of them.
It was a personal foul against the Dukes on the return. And Alex Frank looked like he ran into one of his own guys before going down around the 28-yard line. Because of that personal foul, they won't be able to run this play outside their own 20-yard line. They're going to mark this down all the way back at the 14. First and 10 for the Dukes. Landon Wright will grab the snap, and they'll hand it off to Kale. Kale takes it right side, and he's dropped around the 17-yard line.
Grant Kale, the ball carrier.
Kale picks up a few on that.
Tackled by number 32.
Well, the last time that defense was on the field for the Falcons, we saw Lyman go and get the interception right there, coming up, making a nice play in the running game. And they needed it, too, because they blitzed off of the left side. Good job by Wellington adjusting, running a sweep round to the right. Just that one-on-one. Falcons win that one and keep it at 2nd and long.
Well, this is a pretty big drive for this offense. To stay in this game, you'd like to think you kind of have to come up with some points here. They will get the ball to start the second half. They'll try the middle with this running game again and just nothing doing. They'll spot them down close to the 17, maybe the 18. That's a very, very short gain, setting up 3rd down and about 6.
That's right, and that's one we talked about how far into their own territory they had to start after the penalty. Here, just trying to get a little more breathing room, not force Landon Wright to have to feel like he had to throw for it all. Now, 3rd and 6. We saw them be able to pick up a couple with throws like that. He's 6 of 10 on the night so far. So certainly in a manageable situation here for the Dukes offense.
Matchup on the near side's one to look out for. Johnny Kinter, 6'3", 200-pound senior. He'll be matched up with Samuel Charlie, a senior, 5'11", 160. Wright being chased, going the opposite direction. Throws it down the field, incomplete. He was looking for Alex Frank along the far sideline, but the pass went out of bounds just past the 35, and that brings up 4th down.
Yeah, levels concept over there as he had Frank kind of in the middle, Shepard more closer to the middle of the field, as well as Grant Kale down the field, and just a couple tight windows to try to fit that into, and right there he tried to just keep it out of reach of everybody for safety, it appears.
Carson Lima drops back to receive the punt. It'll be Bryce Lemcool to try and let it loose. Snap will go back to Lemcool. And now he's running around. He's trying to create some space to let this punt loose. He does. Looks like that might have been partially deflected. Took an awkward bounce at the 45-yard line. And now it bounces back to our right. It'll be recovered right around the 50-yard line. Well, that hit the turf. Then it bounced left. And then it bounced back right again.
You could definitely see that Firelands sidelines on fire, poison, whatever their code is to get their guys away, because that became very unpredictable, a lot like the kickoff we saw earlier.
I can't believe he got that away. He had pressure in his face. Somehow he avoided that, and he got a low kick away. Didn't have a ton of steam behind that, but that's because he had a lot of guys right on his tail.
Well, talking about being savvy, I mean, that could have ended up with Firelands starting inside the 10. What a play.
Liam Tobicash hands it off to Colin Scott. Tries to move this play to the outside, and he's dragged down around the 44. So Colin Scott picks up about 5 yards on 1st down. Trey Moore was a name that we were talking about earlier. Anybody that's seen Wellington will bring that name up, and you threw the number out there earlier. 168 tackles coming into play tonight.
Good enough for most of any player in the state here in Ohio. Outstanding season for him.
And just a junior. He'll hand it out to Scott again. Breaks one tackle. He's able to get inside the 40 before he breaks another. He breaks another at the 20, 15, 10, 5, and into the end zone. Touchdown! A 44-yard touchdown rush for Colin Scott. It's his 2nd trip to pay dirt tonight, and that will give the Falcons a 27-0 lead with just inside of 3 minutes to play.
Another example of so many times we've seen tonight. 3 Dukes were in the backfield. He got out of the grasp of 2, and while he's running down the sideline, that speed, he gets away from even some secondary players for Wellington. So They're going to miss Colin Scott when he's done playing football here. What a run, 44 yards.
Davis on for the extra point. High snap. They get it down. The kick goes through the uprights.
And it is good.
It is 28-0 Firelands with 2:59 to play in the second quarter on the Lorain County Sports Network. Second trip to the end zone for Colin Scott. This one a 44-yard touchdown rush. He broke a handful of tackles on his way to the end zone. 28-0 Firelands with just inside of 3 minutes to play in the second stanza. Andy Bolbarch, Max Drummond with you here at Firelands High School. Edwin Vereen is our director. Sam Sovacle working the camera tonight. Regular season finale for the playoffs come your way next week. Davis with a squib kick, and we have a flag thrown. Looks like somebody jumped across early on the kickoff for Firelands. Want to remind you that coming up at the half, we've got the Jeff Allison of Health Markets Insurance halftime show. Uninsured, enroll today with Health Markets Insurance in Amherst. We'll have some first half stats. We'll take a look at some scores from across the area. We'll give you a scoring recap. We'll rate the dog and much, much more.
And now that penalty looms pretty large here. Under 3 minutes remaining. Wellington, if they can get it anywhere close to midfield, may have a chance to see guys like Kinter and Shepard put a little drive together here before the end of the half.
And we've mentioned it a few times already, but I mean, this Wellington team is just undermanned here tonight, playing with so many injuries. It's been a really, really tough thing for them to deal with all year long. This kick is headed toward the far sideline. It'll go out of bounds. So they'll get it at the 35.
Well, and in addition, for these being tough to handle for the hands, not the hands team, but the return team, they've kept it out of the grasp of Johnny Kinter, who came into tonight with several big plays on special teams, and he's all but been neutralized in this phase of the game.
And actually, because of where that went out, they're going to spot it down at the 40-yard line. I kind of thought where that went out, that was away from us. Thought that went out of bounds long before where the penalty would normally take them. So it's going to go out near the 40. That's where they'll take it.
And that may almost kind of work in your favor if you're Firelands, because if they tried one of those squibs, it might be 10 yards closer to midfield right now. Funny how that works out.
Landon Wright trying to get this Wellington offense going. Grabs the shotgun snap. Rolling out to the right, throws it down the field. Frank makes the catch at the 50-yard line. He's shoved out of bounds by Sam Charlie. That'll be a pickup of just about 11 yards for a Wellington first down.
In the last few drives, we've seen him have to roll out to his left because that's been the wide side of the field. Obviously, as a righty, it's just naturally harder to do. Right here, we get to see him roll to his strong side. It delivers a nice ball.
As Firelands defense has made it tough on the Dukes tonight. Albeit, you know, they've been able to move the ball down the field at least a little. They've had a couple of big chunk plays. Empty backfield, man in motion, it's Grant Kale. The pass goes right side, nobody home. There was nobody there. A clear miscommunication as there was no Wellington Duke within 5 or 10 yards of that pass when it fell incomplete into the 40.
It appears Coach O'Rourke and staff on the field are wondering if that could, in fact, be a grounding. Kinter was in the area, but he was running a post. That was almost in the vicinity of a hitch or a comeback route, so we'll see how they rule that.
It will indeed be an intentional grounding call. There's the flag from Adam Nyrod, our head referee.
And you see Kinter pleading his case with the official there, trying to tell him I was over there, but not going to win that appeal.
Well, this will be interesting. Where are they going to mark this? All the way back at the 36. And again, for an offense that's had a hard time really kind of sinking its teeth in here, this is second down and a long ways to go. Second down and about 24. Pass goes left side to Alex Frank. Frank takes it past the 40, and he is spun to the turf near the 42.
Man, nice pickup there. Try to get some of it back, but also Michael Lewis, very rangy defender out there for Firelands. As we've seen him come in and blitz, we've seen him stay in the box right there. He's been forced to play outside close to the numbers a few times and does a good job shutting that play down.
The autumn wind is whipping up here in the press box, blowing my papers all over the place. I like it, man. This is classic sweatshirt weather.
Yeah, it's comfortable now, that's for sure.
3rd and 18 for the Dukes from their own 43-yard line. Firelands showing pressure. They'll hand it off to Kale. He gets stood up and dropped. Nowhere for him to go. It was Aiden Fortner, linebacker, who came up to make the stop. And timeout has been called by Firelands head coach Ryan O'Rourke with $1:26 to play in this second quarter. Well, it's the last game of the year. You're not holding anything back at this point. You have a chance to put the running clock in play at the beginning of the second half if you score here. And even though this hasn't been a season, Max, that Firelands would have liked, things just haven't gone their way, you always remember your last game as a senior, right? And a game like this, things are going right. Coach O'Rourke wants to give each and every last one of those guys something to remember this by.
That's exactly what I was thinking, and there's a lot of guys that play key roles, not even if they're not in the starting lineup. There's a lot of depth that a lot of these seniors provide as well. And regardless of how your record ends up or where you're at in the standings, so much work and effort goes into a season as a whole. So to be here and make it to week 10, it's that's something in and of itself, especially for a lot of these guys.
They're going to load up the line of scrimmage and make it really tough for Lemko to get this away. He gets the punt off. There's nobody back to receive it. Takes a big bounce going past the 20, angling to the far sideline. That'll stop right around the 12. A nice punt by Bryce Lemko, and good awareness to see that they had nobody back there, so he didn't have to have a whole lot of air under that. It was a low line drive kick that took a really nice bounce.
No, you're absolutely right, and that's something that Lemko has been great at this year with his hang time on his punts. It's usually been around 3 to 3.5 seconds. I really recommend more schools do that. I love that stat that the Dukes gave us, and right there he just knew, but good awareness. He didn't need to put a hang time on it. That's that helping him out.
That, man.
Right.
It'd be a tough thing to keep track of. These coaches are busy, man.
Maybe get a track coach that knows a little bit about that stopwatch.
There you go. 1st and 10 from their own 12 for the Falcons. They'll hand it off to Scott. Scott right side with room to run. He gets dragged down to the 22-yard line. He took Cade Spangenberg for a ride there.
First down, Falcons.
What a 10-yard pickup.
That's definitely a feel-it-out kind of play right there. See how much you can get to determine how aggressive you want to be. But now they're letting this clock run, so we'll see if they go for any trickery like you alluded to a little bit ago.
I mean, look, they've got one timeout left. They're really in no huge hurry here with inside of 45 seconds to play. Tobakesh bobbles the snap, has to pick it back up at about the 15-yard line, makes a couple of men miss, and then he's tackled at the 17. Impressive he was able to kind of keep that alive before Ethan Ozenball got to him.
Yeah, somehow got away from a few different Dukes defenders there. That always just amazes me at this level, the awareness some guys have and their capabilities to adjust on the fly like that with the ball on the ground. You can't even see. He looked around for it for a moment, so he stayed very calm under pressure there.
And the way they're moving around here, I don't think they're going to run another play. I think that's going to take us to the end of the second quarter as the final couple of seconds come off the clock. So with a 28-0 lead at the end of 2, Firelands will head into the locker room with a sizable advantage. Coming up at the half, we've got the Jeff Allison of Health Markets Insurance halftime show. We'll have some first half stats, a scoring recap. We will rate the dog, and we'll also take a look at some scores from across the area as well. Here at Firelands High School, it's the Falcons leading the Wellington Dukes 28-0 on the Lorain County Sports Network. 28-0, Firelands leading Wellington at the half. We welcome you in to our Jeff Allison of Health Markets Insurance halftime show. Uninsured, enroll today with Health Markets Insurance in Amherst. Lorain County's Four Horsemen gathering one final time this season as we wrap up the 2024 campaign. Andy Bullbarch joined alongside Max Drummond. We've got Sam Sovacle working the camera tonight, and the captain of our ship is the director, Edwin Vereen. Max, before we dive into some of the stats and the scoring recap, just some overall thoughts from what you've seen so far.
Well, obviously coming into the game, we knew we have a couple big names from each side, and Colin Scott's lived up to the billing. He's the 1,000-yard rusher for a reason, and it's been put on full display. It's a physical game. You know, we've seen a lot of big collisions. I don't know how we're going to narrow it down in our postgame for that award, but both sides have really shown some toughness, and I have been a little surprised. Wellington not as sure of tackling as we're used to from them so far this season. That's something certainly to clean up, and then a few penalties to take care of as well.
And there have been turnovers on both sides in this one. As a matter of fact, Alex Frank has a couple of big interceptions for Wellington. Clearly that hasn't really allowed them to develop a whole lot of momentum, but two big picks, and both have come inside their own territory. And then you take a look at what the Firelands Falcons have been able to do, recovering a kickoff on a fumble and an interception as well from Carson Lima. Let's take a look at how the scoring has gone down so far. Colin Scott with a 5-yard touchdown rush. That brought an 8-play, 65-yard drive to a close to make it 7-0 Firelands on the opening drive. After they forced the Wellington Dukes to punt it away, they were able to drive deep inside Wellington territory. On the 11th play of their drive inside the red zone, Alex Frank came away with his first interception of the night, but they couldn't get anything to come of that as they were forced to punt it away. And then just a few plays later, a 4-play, 79-yard drive came to an end in a 6-yard touchdown rush by Liam Tobikash. The quarterback brought it in to make it 14-0. And then the fumble on the kickoff happened. 2 plays later, the fullback Jimmy Berry found pay dirt on a 36-yard rush to make it 21-0. Carson Lima came away with the interception for Firelands, looking like they were going to totally put this thing out of reach. But Alex Frank said, I can do you one better. He came away with his second interception of the night, but then they went 3 and out, had to punt it away again, and 2 plays later, Colin Scott broke a handful of tackles on a 44-yard touchdown rush, his second trip to the end zone tonight to make it 28-0, and that's where we stand here at the half. Max, let's take a look at some of those first half stats.
And these are courtesy of Al Januzzi CPA, bringing you all the numbers, because it's all about the numbers with Al Januzzi. And we'll start with Firelands, who's had a lot of success on the ground. 25 carries as a team, 268 yards. That's good for 10.7 yards a carry. They've been extremely dominant there. And when they've had to, they've gone to the air, mainly to Colin Scott, and they've also got Preston Kirshner each with a catch. And, yeah, they haven't had to put a lot on Liam Tobikash, as he's 3 of 5 for 44 yards. And then we look over to the Dukes, where they've mainly had to do a lot of their attacking through the air. They've got, at the moment, 5 different guys with a catch. In total, it's gone for 8 of 13 for Landon Wright, 53 yards, and the 1 pick that you alluded to. And we're certainly going to see a lot more pass attempts, I'd assume, from Wellington in the second half to keep adding to that.
I would be shocked if we didn't see more of that in the second half. Again, stats brought to you by Al Januzzi CPA. It's all about the numbers. And speaking of Coach Januzzi, we mentioned it earlier, but that basketball season will be up here before we know it. So looking forward to that getting started. All right, let's take another timeout here in our Jeff Allison of Health Markets Insurance halftime show. When we come back, we will rate the dog, and we'll also take a look at some other scores from across the area as well, as that playoff picture continues to take shape. It's going to be a really interesting playoff scenario in Lorain County. I heard Jim Allen earlier today talking about how so far you've got at least 10. More than likely you might get 11 teams getting into the postseason, so should be a really interesting outlook next week, and we'll take a look at some of those stats and those numbers here in just a few moments. Again, here at the half, it's Firelands 28, Wellington 0 on the Lorain County Sports Network. at the half here at Firelands. Falcons leading 28-0 over Wellington. Enjoying the sounds of the Firelands Marching Band as these men and women get to perform together one final time here during a home football game. Always a special moment at the end of the year. Halftime show brought to you by Jeff Allison of Health Markets Insurance. Uninsured, enroll today with Health Markets Insurance in Amherst. Andy Bobarch and Max Drummond on the call, and it's time now to Rate the Dog. Brought to you by Brian Victor of Howard Hanna. Brian says, enjoy the game. We'll do all that, and we'll also enjoy the dog. We've enjoyed dogs all throughout the season. And a special thanks to all of the places that we've gone to this year. Some places we've hit up twice, Avon and Midview, and we've been to a lot of wonderful high school football stadiums across the area. They've all been kind enough and generous enough to us to let us sample their hot dogs. A tip of the old cap to Sam Sovacool for always making that incredible trek. Sometimes it's just a few steps, like here at Firelands. Other times, he's got to risk his life going down several flights of steep stairs like at Avon Lake in order to get down to the concession stands. And he always sweet talks to people in the concession stands in order to get us those hot dogs. Did such a wonderful job of that at one point. He even got us hot dogs before the game even started. So a big thanks to Sam for all of his hard work with that throughout the course of the year. Well, this is an interesting one to rate. We've had some really good ones. This one is nice and salty. And I'd say I can give this one about a 4.1.
Yeah, no, that's a good word for it. And like you said, Sam, great job. And in addition to all that, very timely, too. Like, we start halftime, and I swear, within a minute or two, I turn around, he's back. So that's always a plus. And I'm going to come in with my rating right around a 3.4.
3.4. He's using that all-world track speed to get up and down the stairs.
That he is. I'm jealous, man.
Our director and the captain of the ship, Edwin Vereen, what are you going with a score for this Rate the Dog? 3.6, he says. And Sam's busy, so we're going to go ahead and leave Sam alone. Again, he did all the hard work getting those hot dogs up here, so we'll go ahead and we'll wait for Sam's final judgment a little bit later on. All right, let's take a look at some scores from across the area tonight. We mentioned it just before we took that last break. The playoff picture really becoming a little bit clearer. Let's look at some of these final scores. We'll stay with the Lorain County League for the time being. Clearview all over Brookside right now. A 28-10 lead for Clearview. Columbia leading Black River 21-16. And at last check, Keystone leading Oberlin 20-0. Talking with Coach O'Rourke before the game began, he had said, our chances are very, very slim at this point. One of the things they needed to happen was Oberlin to beat Keystone. I don't think there are many in the area that would tell you that was really ever going to happen, with all due respect to the kids involved in that process. Keystone playing in a short week, sure, but that's asking a lot to try and punch your ticket into the postseason. And it's been a tough year for Oberlin. Been a tough couple of years. Hopefully things can get turned around down there. But Keystone enjoying that 20-0 lead, and if they win that, they will outright win the league title and not have to share it with anybody. But, you got teams like Columbia and Clearview making things interesting, putting the pressure on them. But right now, both those teams are up in their matchups. Columbia leading Black River 21-16, and Clearview leading Brookside 28-10. Taking a look at some other games going on across the area. Lorain looking for a Lake Erie League victory and a Lake Erie League title as well. They can get that if they take down Maple. Those are the top two teams in the LEL coming into play tonight. Lorain with a 21-6 lead over Maple at last check. And Bellevue had a lead on Vermilion 17-6. An important game for the Sailors as they continue to try and improve their playoff seeding and maybe host a playoff game next week. Avon leads Avon Lake 28-10. A game that we talk about every single year for all of the obvious reasons. And this is the kind of game you hope they would play at the end of the year every single year. As a matter of fact, a couple of years ago, they actually played that game at the very beginning of the season. That was the opener back in 2020. But this is the way it should be. Playing this game at the end of the year. Avon leads Avon Lake 28-10. Avon looking for a perfect season and looking to win the SWC outright. Olmsted Falls leading Midview 17-10. North Ridgeville on top of Amherst 14-7. And finally, in the SWC, it's Berea Mid-Park 13 and Elyria 7. The Pioneers within 6 looking for their lone win in the 2024 campaign, but they're 6 behind Berea Mid-Park. Well, that's a look at the scores from across the area. We will take one more time out here on our halftime show, brought to you by Jeff Allison of Health Markets Insurance. Uninsured, enroll today with Health Markets Insurance in Amherst. We'll come back in just a few moments and get you ready for the second half kickoff between Firelands and Wellington. At the half, it's the Falcons 28 and the Dukes nothing on the Lorain County Sports Network. Getting you set for the second half kickoff. It's 28-0 Firelands leading Wellington in this one. So happy that you've dialed in to make us a part of your Friday night. Andy Bolbarch, Max Drummond on the call. Edwin Vereen, our director. Sam Sovacle working the camera tonight. Max, let's take a look at some of those keys in the second half for both teams.
Well, we'll revisit one we talked about early on as the Dukes. They've got to get a little bit more aggressive up front. Their defensive line, I know they're in a tough spot. There's not a lot of depth behind them, so it's going to take a big effort. But they need to keep that offensive line of Firelands off of their linebackers, allow them to be able to come up and make plays at the line of scrimmage instead of a few yards downfield. And obviously offensively, we're going to need to see probably a few things pulled out of the trick bag of plays for the Dukes. And then over for Firelands, they've done a pretty good job changing up their looks on defense, and it's really confused that Wellington offensive line. So I got to imagine we'll see a little bit more of that no matter who's out there on defense for them. And offensively, Colin Scott, I mean, he racked up nearly 200 yards, a full game's worth of rushing yards in just one half. So got to imagine they'll lean on him to continue to put this away.
Well, and Firelands just came out of their huddle in the south end zone pretty fired up. And I think that's to be expected when you're up in a game this big. And for these seniors, it's going to be the last game that they ever play. And for Wellington, you mentioned, look, depth was going to be a problem. Coach Howells told us that before the game began. You know, they're a little lean because of a lot of injuries. And, yeah, they knew they were really going to have to scrap in this one. Both teams came in knowing that, to get to the playoffs, it was going to take a minor miracle. Not only would you have to win here tonight, but you also have to hope for a lot of help along the way, too. So at this point, you know, you're playing for pride, knowing that this is going to be the final ride for your seniors. So this second half could certainly be telling for all those who are playing one final time, and there's something to be said for that for sure.
There absolutely is. Still look back fondly on my final high school game, and it ended up in a loss, but in that moment, it was the last time you got to play with that core group of people, especially in your class. I mean, and there's nothing that beats that. Even if you go on to play football at the next level, there's no recreating those moments you make with those guys you grew up with.
No doubt about it. Coming up in just a few moments is the first snap of the second half. That's brought to you by Janasco Insurance, the protection you need, the service you deserve. That's Janasco Insurance. One other score to pass along to you at the half. Elyria Catholic leads Brush 26-0. Now EC still has a chance to get into the postseason. And that's saying something about a team that had a really difficult start to the season. So I'd be a little surprised if they got in, but they still can. And that's a game I think a lot of people expected them to win against Brush. They've also got wins this year against Holy Name, and of course they took down St. Vincent St. Mary earlier this year. So while things didn't start so well for EC, there's still a chance to get in. And of course, when we're done here tonight, we invite all of you to stay tuned on WOBL and WDLW to Dave Grenchinsky, Paul Williams, Maria Janasco. Big John's back in the studio with them, along with David Q for the I-90 Nissan and Sheffield Village postgame show. They will let you know what's going on. Not only the final scores, they'll also talk to some of the game-winning coaches and players from across the area, but also paint that playoff picture as clear as they possibly can. We should know by the end of the night tonight, for the most part, where a lot of these matchups will take place next week. Davis with a squibber on the right side. This will bounce toward Frank. Frank will recover it at about the 35, and he's wrestled down near the 36-yard line.
Tackle line number 23, Max Stinson.
Now we see this Dukes offense return to the field, and they've been forced, as we talked about in the pregame, and we haven't been surprised by it, had to see a lot of spread out formations, and they've had their moments of success. They've had times where they've been able to string a few plays together. But it's certainly a tough task, as many of the Firelands stars, if not all, are still out there as well. So we'll see a lot of the same matchups we saw in that first half.
It's going to be Johnny Kinter taking the direct snap. Kinter rolling out to his right. He's going to run to his own lineman. He gets stood up, and he'll be dropped at the line of scrimmage. Nowhere for him to go. And we have some laundry at the end of that play, about 2 seconds after the play ended. And let's see what this is all about.
Of course, saw them in a pile up there at the end. You never know what goes on at the bottom of those.
So it's a personal foul against Wellington. And the end of that play was a no-gainer. That was the end result, but what was already going to be a tough scenario for the Dukes turns out to be even tougher, as now they'll march all the way back to about their own 20-yard line.
And Kinter's been a ball carrier a few times this season. Obviously right there, just doing what they can to get the ball in his hands as quickly as possible, try to have him create something. But now we'll likely see him, if they do go to him, down the field instead.
Some shifting going on here. And now they'll send a man in motion. It's Grant Kale. Right, throws left side incomplete. He was trying to get it to Kale, but that was way behind him.
Third down.
So now it's third down and a long ways to go for the Dukes.
We see Wright speaking with Kale at the end of that play. Almost seemed like he thought he would sit down on that route before the sideline. Kale just kept taking it out past the numbers. And just a miscommunication there on that pass play.
Wind picking up again, and things are really cooling off tonight. But this has turned out to be a wonderful evening. We've been pretty lucky. Only 2 weeks throughout the year where it's rained on us. 3rd and 25. Landon Wright wants the snap. He gets it. Firelands rushing forward. Pass goes right side of Connor Shepard, and Shepard's knocked out of bounds on the far sideline. Got up to about the 26. Well short. And that'll bring up 4th down.
Well, a great part of Landon Wright's game when he's as a thrower, he has such a quick release of the ball. It's going to get out quickly. We've seen a few of those where it's gone the other way, but he's still, regardless, he's going to avoid some sacks.
Lemkool gets this kick away, high spiraling kick. Lima comes forward, dives, and he makes the catch. Somehow was able to smother that right around the 45-yard line.
Covered by number 32, Carson Lima.
And we'll see this Firelands offense trot out onto the field, leading 28-0 with 11:10 to play in the 3rd quarter.
I'll tell you what, I may be stating the obvious, especially to Firelands fans, but Lima, he doesn't look like, and he certainly doesn't play like a freshman out there, having the full 10 games now under his belt, and he really looks like a more polished player. I'm sure he did the start of the season, and that's a guy they'll definitely look for here in the coming years.
Liam Tobikesh, sophomore quarterback, throws right side, caught on a screen. He got that to the fullback, Jimmy Berry. Berry is undercut by Grant Kale. Connor Shepard slowed him down, and then Kale cleaned that up at about the 41-yard line. More than enough for a 1st down.
And, Bull, you mentioned on that one a screen set up. It looks like they're going to say Berry caught that beyond the line of scrimmage, so there may have been a couple guys downfield from that offensive line.
And there's a flag at the 48-yard line. And the way they're acting here, I think you're spot on. Well, you have been Victor the Predictor all throughout the season. You've been spot on when they have thrown these yellow hankies. You've been all over it.
Yeah, I try to do my best. I was a somewhat penalized player when I was there, so I could sometimes see what is around the corner from time to time.
Hey, others try. You succeed. You've been doing that ever since week 1 back at Midview when they took on Westlake. Well, now the officials are having a hard time trying to decide what they're going to do here.
And as you may expect, we saw the Firelands coaching staff trying to give their case, and maybe they did.
Well, they've waved it off, and now they've got to explain this to Wellington head coach Rob Howells as to why they waved it off. Coach Howells none too pleased as he kind of throws his arms out. And the result of the play is a 1st down for Firelands. They now have it at the 42 of Wellington.
There's some extra enthusiasm in that announcement. My goodness.
There's a lot of that here.
Yeah.
Barry the fullback, Scott the tailback. Tobikesh will hand it off to Scott. Scott, stutter step right side, undercut by Trey Moore, who knocks him down after a pickup of a few.
And it feels like it's been forever since we've seen Colin Scott take a handoff, but nothing's changed. Great way to start 1st down.
Good job by Trey Moore of slowing him down. And Moore is a name I think a lot of us are looking forward to following next year, his senior season. It's been a nice junior campaign for him. They'll send Barry in motion, and they'll give it to Scott again. Scott wrestles his way up to about the 38, maybe the 37. From here, it looks like he's got enough. And the officials confirm our suspicion that's a 1st down.
Looks like the chain's just waiting for the official spot. You're absolutely right. That's going to be just enough. And we continue to see Scott stay above 10 yards per carry tonight, as no matter what, he's been able to fall forward.
And they've had this trio in the backfield for most of the night. Tobikesh passes left side. Kirshner makes the catch out in the flat. Takes it past the 25-yard line, and he is spun out of bounds. Got out to about the 24. So Preston Kirshner able to move the sticks, and we do have an injured Duke down on the ground right around the 28-yard line. And while the training staff will come out there to take a look at the injured Duke, we'll take a timeout as well. 9:36 to go in this 3rd quarter clock. It's Firelands 28, Wellington nothing on the Lorain County Sports Network. Bryce Lemke walking off the field after being injured on that last play. Took him a little while to get up, but he's being walked over to that far sideline. We'll get back to the action here. It'll be 2nd down and short for Firelands. They'll give it inside to Scott. Scott able to work his way inside the 15-yard line. Finally goes down right around the 14. So Colin Scott giving that chain gang a pretty good workout on the far sideline as he just continues to march down the field with the rest of this Firelands offense.
Yeah, you could say that again. I mean, he's just been so physical, and it's obviously an already thin front seven, and they're reeling right now trying to stop him.
A score here would put the running clock in motion. Liam Tobycash hands it off to the fullback, Jimmy Berry, and Berry has nowhere to go. That Wellington front four able to stand him up, and now we have another flag on the field. Lots of laundry tonight. And this will be a hold against Firelands, so this is coming back.
We've seen a good number of holding calls as well, and I think that just speaks to how tough it is to corral these defenders, as both sides know. I mean, they see each other every year. They've been playing for a long time here in the LC8 against each other, and you always got to bring your lunch pail with you.
This will put the ball back at about the 22-yard line. 1st down and 20 now for the Falcons. Tobycash will send Barry in motion. Looking to pass. Now he's being pressured. He'll throw this one right at the feet of Barry. Well, a good job of the sophomore just to find a way out of that. Didn't have anything open down the field, and then he looked and he saw a receiver in the area and just threw it at his feet so he wouldn't get whistled for grounding.
That's right. Barry originally stayed in. Looked like he was almost trying to block 2 guys at once with his frame there, and turned around just in time for, of course, Tobycash to see, oh, I got an eligible receiver there. Let's go in his direction.
That brings up 2nd and long now for the Falcons.
What's so interesting about a spot like this is a Colin Scott run has been more than enough to get them out of these tough situations at times.
2nd and 18. They'll hand it off to Scott. This time Scott's met and dropped. They take him down at the 24-yard line. And he was taken to the turf by Cade Spangenberg. Spangenberg with 5 tackles for loss coming into this game tonight, but he read that play from the get-go, had great penetration, and he takes down Scott for a loss.
That he did. Him and Ozenbaugh have had solid nights this evening, and they've been able to get into the backfield. One of the few times we've been able to see them finish it off, and just a great tackle forcing this 3rd and very difficult here for the Falcons.
And that was Spangenberg, and there were 2 other Dukes in the area, too. 3rd down and 19. Tobycash will drop back to pass. Throws this one to the back of the end zone. Got a man open, but it's dropped. He was looking for Jimmy Berry, but he couldn't hang on to it. Well, he was able to split a pair of defenders, and he was wide open in the middle of the end zone, but just couldn't quite hang on.
You've seen them go in the direction of Berry a few times through the air, more so in screens, and slipping him out of the backfield. That time, he was so wide open, he almost maybe heard footsteps or something, but that's a tough grab for a guy in the fullback, H-back position to pull down.
Davis setting up for a 42-yard field goal attempt. Snap goes back, the hold is down, it's on the way, plenty of leg, and it is good, he hit it! Davis with a 42-yard field goal, and that'll make it 31-0 in favor of Firelands with 7:52 to play here in the 3rd quarter on the Lorain County Sports Network. After Matt Davis's 42-yard field goal, it's 31-0. Firelands leading Wellington with just inside of 8 minutes to go in this third quarter. Glad you've dialed in on the Lorain County Sports Network. Wrapping up the regular season. Of course, next week, we've got a couple of games for you on the radio. Not quite sure which just yet. We have to let that playoff picture come to life. Should see most of that at the end of the night tonight. Squibber goes down the right side. It's bobbled at about the 27-yard line. Picked back up by Alex Frank. He takes it to the 30-yard line. He's past the 35, drags the pile up to about the 40.
Well, some nice patience shown there. He wasn't able to get it right away, didn't panic, just took a moment, looked down, and secured it and turned it into a nice overturn there. Around 7.5 to go and running.
I mentioned the 2 radio games next week. I know that you'll be out with GT and DeVito.
Yeah.
And then Don Vincent, along with John Guzik, will be on site somewhere next week. And certainly appreciate Guzik filling in for me last week when I was under the weather and could not join you guys out at Avon. And while we're on that topic, I mean, I had the chance last week to see just how cool that entire production is on every. I listened to all 4 games last week. My wife thought I was nuts. She said, you're not feeling too hot. What are you doing? I said, look, I can't get away from this. I mean, the doctor may tell me I can't come out to the game, but that doesn't mean I can't watch it. Listen.
It sounds like you had the full command center up and running there with all the different games. And like you mentioned with the playoff games next week, we have plenty of teams to choose from, so that's going to make it even more exciting trying to figure out where the stations want to go. Yeah,
that'll be awesome. Certainly looking forward to following all the teams in the area and see how far they can go. Landon Wright will drop back. Looks left. Throws left. That's way out of bounds. He sailed that over the head of Connor Shepard.
Second down.
That was certainly going to be a tough spot to fit it into. Michael Lewis, number 15, standing at 6'4", so to even overthrow it over his head ended up working out for them there and lived to fight for 2nd and 10 now.
Running clock in motion here with a 31-point lead for Firelands. Nearing 6.5 minutes to play here in this third quarter. Nobody in the backfield with Landon Wright. And now they'll send Grant Cale in motion. They'll fake the give to him. They'll throw it out to him, makes the catch in the flat. Works his way inside. Then he gets stuck at the 40-yard line. Ho, boy. He took a shot from Colin Scott. And there's another candidate for our collision of the game, brought to you by Ernie's Auto Body. That's the top auto body shop at Avon, Ernie's Auto Body.
And for Colin Scott, we haven't seen him out there too often on defense tonight. Normally it's because he's recovering from a big offensive drive. But right there, he reminds everybody he's more than capable of filling in over at that linebacker spot.
He'll empty it out again on 3rd down and 10. 4-man rush. Wright fires this one deep down the near side. Kinter can't quite catch up to it. That falls incomplete at the 30-yard line. And it looked like Johnny Kinter maybe had a step on his defender, but he wasn't able to look back up and catch that as it was coming down.
Oh, that's about as good as you can ask for on placement there of that football by Landon Wright. Just at the beginning of that route, a good jam that maybe threw off the timing by half a second or so, and that's enough in those deep ball situations to lead to an incompletion.
Alex Frank is going to handle the punting duties. Bryce Lemkool went down with an injury earlier tonight. So Alex Frank will try and let this one loose. It'll be a fake. It's taken up to about the 42-yard line, and Firelands was able to sniff that out. Well, they try to snap to Nathan Crossy, the up back, but Firelands was not fooled. They picked up just a couple on that.
And that just shows the attention to detail that these coaches are implementing into their players there for Firelands. Not falling asleep on that. Setting their offense up now at the 42 in plus territory. And O'Rourke continuing. He's looking in their eyes there in that huddle as if it's still an even ball game. That shows this coaching staff they're still all in tonight, obviously.
Well, no reason to hold anything back. as the season will come to a close for both of these teams here tonight. They'll send a man in motion. It's a keeper. Tobicash runs right into the teeth of that Wellington defensive front, and Austin Sutherland was able to get in there and tear him down. I think picked up maybe a yard.
And as they lose Colin Scott after this season, excited to see, just looking ahead a little bit based off of Tobicash's first season starting, how much he's used as a runner. We've seen other teams around the county have to kind of implement their quarterback as more of a dual threat after uncertainty at the running back position from the previous year.
Landed off to Scott. Scott takes a couple defenders with them inside the 40 to about the 38. Cade Spangenberg is a name we've said a lot here tonight. And Spangenberg a little bit slow to get up in this Wellington Duke squad that's just been battling the injury bug all season long, just taking one big hit after another, unfortunately, here in the season finale. Now Spangenberg is trying to hobble off the field, and he looks to be okay. But, I mean, Max, you can't help but feel for those kids. I mean, coming into this game, they knew they'd be pretty thin.
That's right, and even despite that, they've had the next man up mentality. They've had plenty of guys, no matter how many years they've been in the program, be able to step in for them and play in some crucial snaps. And, of course, they're going to have to do a little bit more of that right here.
3rd down and 6 for Firelands, and they have it at the Duke's 37-yard line. And they'll do the shift. They've done this many times tonight. Split backs, one on each side of Tobicash. They'll send a man in motion. That's Samuel Charlie. It'll be a keeper. Tobicash with room to run. Up the middle. He's able to get out of one tackle, and he gets up to the 25-yard line. And they'll pick up the first down. Connor Kinzer, a 5'10", 140-pound sophomore, was able to keep him from going into the end zone.
First down, Falcons.
That he was. Great job staying home and not going with the motion man that time, as it led him right to the tackle, a little bit further downfield than you'd want, but that was just because of the great hole opened up by the right side of that offensive line.
Both backs on the right side of Tobicash. And it'll be a keeper. However, Wellington's not fooled. It's Austin Sutherland who's able to grab him and tackle him back at the 30-yard line.
By number 74, Austin Sutherland.
And that's a guy, when we were preparing for this game, definitely stood out on that front, as he's got over 60 tackles. You don't see a defensive lineman be able to rack up that many, usually even in a full season like this. But that play right there shows it, and him and a couple other guys have been close to a few more of those in the backfield. So good to see him come up with one right there.
Had a handful of tackles for loss coming into the game tonight. Picks up another one there, which results in a loss of 4 yards. Back to pass. Tobicash, now he's going to step up and run. He gets up to about the 24-yard line before Trey Moore is able to take him down by the legs. They picked up maybe 5 or 6 on that play.
And that's definitely just the smart move there, as they faked the screen left, wanted a deep ball down the sideline. I believe they were looking at Lucas Green, but when he realized it wasn't there, he just took what was in front of him, even though Trey Moore was waiting. That's never a sight you want to see, but makes this 3rd down and 8 instead of a 3rd down and 16 or so if he tried to throw it away instead.
Got the impression Moore was kind of spying him there and was just able to make a really nice tackle to come up and get to him. A couple yards past the 25. It's 3rd down and 8. Inside of a minute to play in this 3rd quarter. Tobicash looking to his left, facing pressure, throws right side, caught in the screen by Scott. Scott able to get up to about the 25-yard line. He's tackled close to the 19, and we have some more laundry. Now, because that was a screen, that was thrown in an area where you normally see either a hold or an illegal man downfield, and it looks like this is going to be a hold to bring it back.
Well, some of the pass rush there paused, because we've seen a few of those screens here in the second half, that Wellington defense wisening up a bit there. And it forced Tobicash to hold the ball a little longer than he'd like, and right tackle Brandon Adkins. That meant he had to deal with a speedy defensive back a little longer than he would like, and it leads to the negative play now.
10 seconds to go here, and I think, Max, that that might end up being the last play of the quarter.
It looks that way, and while we have Adkins brought up, the right tackle actually has a rushing touchdown this season. I thought that was a fun moment from them this year.
So at the end of 3, it's 31-0. Firelands leading Wellington on the Lorain County Sports Network. Three down, 1 to go. It's a 31-0 lead for Firelands over Wellington as we get set to begin the fourth quarter. It'll be 3rd down and 14 for Firelands from the Wellington 29-yard line. Clock running with a 30-plus point lead for Firelands. Last game of the season, so they're going to keep all their starters in the game. They'll hand it off to Scott, right side. He gets inside the 25-yard line, then he collides with the defender and goes down at about the 20. So he picks up just about 9 yards, setting up 4th down.
63 Curtis Gillis and 64 Clifford Stahl.
And now it looks like they're going to bring Mac Davis back on the field for another field goal attempt. Coach O'Rourke was telling us about him earlier in the week. A soccer player that joined the team a little bit later on in the year. Made one from 42 earlier. This will be a 37-yard attempt from the right hash. Kick is on the way. Plenty of distance, and it is no good. He missed that one. Had plenty of distance on it, but could not split the uprights. Speaking of field goals, well, we saw a pretty interesting attempt from the deputy sheriff. However, his attempt was from a little bit shorter than 37 yards away, but he nailed the crossbar.
That's right. He was so close. He was on the line for a donation to the Friends of Firelands if put through. And like you said, it looked like a clean hold and all that, just not as much elevation as was needed. But still, that was definitely a lot better than what I could have done. I'll tell you that much.
You and me both. I mean, in that scenario, I'd just be afraid of falling on my keister. Landon Wright throws left side, caught by Frank. Frank running along that far sideline goes out of bounds around the 26.
Tackled by number 15, Michael Lewis. Second and 5.
I'll call that a gain of just about 5 yards. And here, you know, it's a chance for the seniors to play out the string and have some fun here. And on top of that, you're looking for something from your younger guys also to try and develop some confidence and some momentum going into the offseason. Landon Wright rolling out to the near side, looking down the field, throws it across the middle. A sliding catch is made right around the 33-yard line. Connor Kinzer made a nice sliding grab for a first down.
First down, Wellington.
Yeah, he's set up nicely there between Colin Scott and some of the safeties for that Firelands defense. And that's an area of the intermediate passing game. We've seen them have some success tonight with Landon Wright.
And you figure they're going to get a bit of a cushion here with a 31-point deficit, so you'd like to think those kinds of passes might be open for them. But it's not to say they're taking their foot off the gas pedal. Look, they've still got their starters in this game. Pressure coming from the left side. Wright avoids it quickly, throws right side, and it's caught by Kinter. Kinter is tackled around the 42. A 9-yard gain.
Tackled by number 1, Sam Charlie.
And for Kinter, he's closing in on 30 catches for the season, and like we alluded to in the opening, he's right in contention for the top spot in receiving yards in the conference for this season. So he's been a very reliable threat, not only this year, but his whole career. Got to see him a few other times, and he certainly is a very impressive receiver.
Yeah, he's had a heck of a year. No doubt about that. I mentioned that start to the season for Firelands. 0-4 with some incredibly good competition. Wright airs this one out, looking for Kinter, and that one's knocked away. Well, Kinter kind of had to become the defender there to knock that away from Samuel Charlie, who had him blanketed very well.
That he did, and he obviously plays corner on the other side, so he knows a little bit about getting between the ball and somebody else on the receiving end of it. And you brought up the very difficult opening to the season for Firelands. Their opponents, I mean, it was no slouch. Of all of the teams in the LCA, Firelands had the toughest schedule by way of opponent record, 55-35 coming into Week 10, where it was how their opponents fared. So, and that was by far the most of any other team in this conference. And to be just a game away from 500 speaks to how well they picked it up near the end of the year.
Grant Cale goes in motion. They'll hand it off to him, but Noah Engel said, The senior said, no, sir. He tackles him for a loss, dropping him at about the 39-yard line.
Wow, just a very dominant player up there, as he's got a couple tackle for losses on the season. They haven't been able to generate as much natural pass rush as they would have liked throughout this year. However, a lot of that has to do with the playing style of the teams that they've gone up against.
Yeah, and look, I mean, when we talked to Coach O'Rourke about that a couple of days ago, he said, look, you find out what you can and you can't do when you play really good teams like that early on in the season. There's movement on the right side of that offensive line, and I think there was some miscommunication with that snap count, and it looks like a big shift in personnel, so I think Wellington's going to punt. But he said, you learn a lot about your guys for sure, and you kind of have an idea as to, what you can and can't get away with. And those are very important lessons to learn when you have a group as young as this. Alex Frank looking down the field. He's going to throw it on a fake punt. Caught by Trey Moore. That's going to be awfully close. He caught it right around the 43-yard line. And they're going to give him the first down. So they call for the fake punt. Alex Frank with a real nice pass to Trey Moore, and they keep the drive alive.
You got that. On the run, looking a bit like Landon Wright. And what about the catch, Trey Moore? We talk about him as a bruising runner, a great tackler on defense. Showed off the hands there, too, to move the chains.
Well, like Dan Fouts said in the Waterboy, right? It's the last game of the year. Can't hold anything back now. Pulling out all the stops.
We'll see if we have any more moments like that we can use it as often as he did.
Fourth quarter clock continues to tick. 5.5 minutes to go. Firelands 31, Wellington nothing. Pass goes across the middle, incomplete. And he was looking for Justin Cottrell, the tight end. Landon Wright let that go very quickly, and almost looked like he let that go so quickly that that play never had a chance to develop.
There's that quick release we talked about. I think he was trying to catch Firelands defense off guard. They haven't provided too many jam situations in pass coverage, and right there he thought he could take advantage.
Inside of 5 minutes to go now. Wright will drop back. Flushes out to the far side. Throws it down the field. Incomplete. Well, he was searching for Alex Frank, and looked like Frank may have had a step on his man, but I don't think he was expecting that pass.
No, we've seen that a couple times now, especially on that far sideline where they've tried to set up a few plays. Just haven't been able to connect over there as often. Not sure if that's fully on, rolling the opposite way of his throwing hand, but still it's just had more success closer to us here on the right side this evening.
The Dukes staring down the barrel of 3rd and 10 at their own 43-yard line. Trying to pick up the pace here a little bit after getting that fake punt to keep the drive alive. Pressure coming. He'll air it out, near side, looking for Kinter. Kinter jumps up and somehow made the catch at the 24. What a grab by Johnny Kinter. He leaped up over Samuel Charlie to make an acrobatic grab. Oh, what a catch by Johnny Kinter.
And he's had some impressive catches in his career. That might go up there as one of the better ones. And that was while Landon Wright was staring down a full-on blitz on 3rd and long. Great connection on that play.
What a catch. It looked like Charlie may have injured himself on that last play, so he comes out. Landon Wright, time to throw. He's going to step up. Airs this one out, back of the end zone, looking for Kinter. Kinter is knocked away. It's incomplete, and we have a flag that comes in. Well, there was a lot of contact down there. There was certainly some sparring going on, and it looks like they're going to get Firelands for a pass interference. Although we have a flag back around the 31-yard line as well. So it's a hold going against Wellington and a pass interference going against Firelands, offsetting penalties, so we'll play first down all over again.
And it's clear here in this potentially final drive. They're living and dying by the Johnny Kinter deep ball, 50-50, whatever you want to call it. I can't blame them because even on that one, it looked like he might have had a chance to get his hands on it.
Inside of 2.5 minutes to play. First down and 10 again. Wellington certainly does not want to be shut out in their final game of the season. And for Firelands, we mentioned a lot of those starters still in there. They want to pitch that shutout. Wright's pass goes across the middle, knocked into the air and almost intercepted. It was nearly picked off. Preston Kirshner, a sophomore, almost caught that off the deflection.
When you talked about how aggressive there's still being a lot of starters out there to try to keep this shutout, they're not letting up on these blitz packages either. Once again, Landon Wright took another big hit, and he's going to have to continue to gut through it here on 2nd down.
Landon Wright with Cottrell off his left hip, works out of the shotgun again. Looks to his right, throws right, caught by Kinter. Kinter works his way inside the 15. He's to the 10, to the 5. Kinter's able to march in for the touchdown. A 24-yard touchdown pass from Landon Wright to Johnny Kinter, his 7th touchdown of the season. And with a $1:25 to play in the 4th quarter, the Wellington Dukes are on the board.
That's the type of talent Kinter has when he gets the ball in his hand. Didn't get to see too much of that tonight until this drive, but it certainly paid off. And with that score, you mentioned the touchdown milestone. He also gets over 800 yards on the season now, 815 to be exact.
Well, an odd-looking formation here. Trey Moore will throw this into the end zone, and it's caught for a 2-point conversion. Johnny Kinter makes the catch on another trick play from the Dukes. The 2-point conversion is good. So it's 31-8. Firelands on top of Wellington with 1:25 to go in the 4th quarter on the Lorain County Sports Network. Lots of trickery in the final game of the season. 31-8. Wellington trails Firelands with a $1:25 to go on this one. And why not, right? Max, they should have all the fun in the world. In all likelihood, this will be the last game for both teams, and they're both having a blast here tonight.
Yeah, it's very cool to see some stuff, whatever they got up the sleeve. And that one, we didn't even realize what was happening before the play started. But Kinter snapped that sideways, obviously over to Moore, and then he released into the end zone and was able to catch it. So he did the snapping and the catch. He started and finished the play. Gotta love to see that.
Well, 31-8 to score. Firelands certainly expecting that Wellington will make a run at an onside kick here. Alex Frank will handle the kickoff. He'll run forward and try an onside. Takes a big hop, but it's recovered by Firelands at about the 43-yard line. Well, he got a nice little hop on that, but Caleb Crawford was able to jump up and bring it down, and the sophomore had the wherewithal to say, you know what? Nothing good will come out of me trying to make a heroic play out of this, so he secured that and just fell right to the ground.
That's certainly been the key on these weird squib kicks that we've seen these guys have to try to handle tonight. Seemingly, the more aggressive you are to go finish the play quicker, the better off they've been.
Firelands will take over at their own 43-yard line, up 31-8. And they certainly look like they're going to be in victory formation here. A snap and a knee taken by Liam Tobakash. And I think he should only have to do that one more time before it officially runs the remainder of this fourth quarter clock out. And they'll make a host of substitutions offensively here for the Falcons as they get some of their seniors and starters out and allow the crowd of the near side to give them a standing ovation. Again, they'll line up in victory formation. Wait for that to get all the way down to 40 seconds if they can, and then take a knee, and that'll officially put this one away.
Third down.
I don't think they have to run another play here. They just set the ball down with 30 seconds left. And they will start to march to their respective sideline. And that'll officially put this one away. So the final score of this one tonight, Firelands 31 and Wellington 8. Coming in, we figured it would be the last game of the season for both of these teams. Firelands will finish the year at 4-6, but with a winning record in Lorain County League play at 4-3, and the Dukes, decimated by injuries, will fall to 3-7 altogether and 1-6 in Lorain County League action. Well, let's step aside and let's take a timeout. When we come back, we'll dive into our portion of the I-90 Nissan and Sheffield Village post-game show. We've got some awards to give away, a scoring recap, and some final stats. All that and much, much more here in just a few moments on the Lorain County Sports Network. Ramping things up here in the land of fire, where tonight the Falcons are a 31-8 winner over the Wellington Dukes. We were happy to bring it to you here on the Lorain County Sports Network. We launch right in to our postgame show brought to you by I-90 Nissan in Sheffield Village because the deals are so good. And, of course, you can catch the duration of the postgame show from the Radio Ranch. Dave Granchinsky, Paul Williams, Maria Janasco and company will give you all the scores you need. They'll talk to some of the game-winning coaches and players from tonight as well and let you know what that playoff picture will look like heading into next week. Well, a game here tonight where coming in, you kind of figured this would be the end of the line for both teams, Max. And what this turned out here into tonight was a matchup where you saw both teams really kind of pulling all the stops, right? It was a matchup where we saw some trick plays. You saw both teams take some chances, but in the end, the legs of Colin Scott just too much for the Wellington Dukes to handle.
It certainly was. Him and that offensive line really got in a nice groove together. You throw in Liam Tobicash always being a threat to keep the ball, and it was just a rotation that led to a perfect recipe for success here. And they get the Falcons take home the victory on senior night.
And it was a pretty quick second half. We thought that it was 28-0 Firelands at the half. They were able to get 3 in the second half. It was a third quarter field goal from Matt Davis, a 42-yarder. They ran him out there for a 37-yarder a little bit later on in the night. He missed that one, but he nailed the 42-yarder. Then he got carried off the field, which was kind of hilarious. But he makes that to put the running clock in play. And then later on in the night, the Wellington Dukes offense able to put together a really interesting drive, and their only drive that produced points. They end up scoring on a 24-yard touchdown pass from Landon Wright. Johnny Kinter was able to make the catch on that, and then Kinter was the snapper and the receiver. On a trick play, he snapped the ball back to Trey Moore, and then Moore threw it to him to catch the 2-point conversion to make it 31-8. And for the Dukes, that was their only score of the night. On that drive, though, Trey Moore played a huge role in a number of different ways. He also caught a fake punt pass from Alex Frank, which kept that drive alive. It was a fascinating drive, and it was one where you felt like the Dukes just kind of knew, look, this is probably going to be our last drive, and they took out every page in that playbook in order to get into the end zone.
That's a perfect way of putting it. They left nothing to the imagination to close out this game. As Rob Howes, he's put together a very proud program over there. You could even see on that final kickoff the enthusiasm and energy still there from those guys, and it was great to see them finish out their final offensive drive, especially a lot of those guys who've played together for several years now, put some points on the board. And you want to talk about seniors for Firelands, obviously Colin Sky's getting our player of the game shirt right now to kind of give a spoiler, but him and a few others are heading to ring that bell down there.
As a matter of fact, the second he got that shirt, he ran right down there to ring that bell. Really cool stuff. Well, Max mentioned it. Time to get to it. Our player of the game, Colin Scott. And I'll let Max run through his numbers here in just a few moments. Player of the game brought to you by Zabo Apparel Company. Be game day ready all year long with Zabo Apparel Company. We had lots of candidates for Ernie's Auto Body Collision of the game. Ernie's Auto Body is the top auto body shop in Avon. That's Ernie's Auto Body. And we'll take a look at some of these numbers now. The numbers brought to you by Al Januzzi CPA because it's all about the numbers. Max, what do those final stats look like?
We'll jump into the player of the game recipient, Colin Scott. 23 carries, 221 yards, 2 touchdowns on the evening. And then as a team, they ran for 304 together. And then obviously looking through the air, they didn't need it as often, but Tobicash, 5 of 8, 66 yards to go along with his rushing touchdown. And then over on the Dukes side, that final drive, we hit on it there. Johnny Kinter, great way to close out the game, a season and a career, 4 catches, 78 yards, as Landon Wright also was able to put up 15 of 26, 138, a touchdown, and a pick in his final game for the Dukes.
Well, let's take a look at a couple more awards here before we get ready to say goodbye for the season. The drive of the game, there's a couple of different candidates here. Our drive of the game is brought to you by Valley Chevrolet. Keep on driving with Valley Chevrolet in Wellington and Huron. I tell you what, I think Firelands set the tone with that very first drive. 65 yards on 8 plays. Colin Scott brought it in from 5 yards out to close that drive. And they would score a few more times clearly in this game, but it really felt like they set the tone on that opening drive. There were a couple of third down conversions on that drive where they were looking at third and long, and they converted and just never looked back.
Yeah, they found ways to be effective there, and it was with a couple different guys. Obviously, as the game went on, Colin Scott was the key contributor. He had a few carries on there, but also Barry and Tobicash as well, and it really just it set up what we were going to see the rest of the night.
Yeah, it definitely did. You could even throw another wrinkle in there as well to get both teams in on the awards. If we're to give out 2 Drive of the Game awards, we could also throw Wellington's last drive in there. On that particular drive, they went 80 yards on 10 plays with that 24-yard touchdown pass from Wright to Kinter to bring that one to a close. Big play of the game brought to you by Big Brothers Big Sisters of Lorain County. Be a big, get a big. That's Big Brothers Big Sisters of Lorain County. It goes back to that 44-yard touchdown rush from Colin Scott. I mean, he was not to be denied here on senior night. The last game that he'll play as a member of the Falcons, that 44-yard touchdown rush was impressive in so many different ways. It wasn't just the fact that he ran it in from 44 yards out, but he broke about 5 or 6 tackles en route to pay dirt.
That he did. Some in the backfield, some 20 yards down the field, and he finished it off with great speed and very underrated speed when you look at him more as a bruiser.
Yeah, no question about that, and he was a fun young man to watch here tonight. You talked about those numbers a little bit earlier on. He wins our Player of the Game award, rightfully so. He was excited down there. He actually had that jersey in hand that Sam had given to him, and he was running on down there to ring that bell. You could tell he just could not wait to celebrate with all of his buddies down there. 31-8 the final. Firelands a winner over Wellington. And that's going to pretty much put the wraps on our season and on our broadcast here tonight. Max, any final thoughts for you before we close this one out?
Man, what a season. It's been a lot of fun. I'm glad we were able to expand our coverage even more this season on the Lorain County Sports Network. And also just seeing these emotions from both sides on senior night, it's a special thing and just kind of provides a little throwback as well how special these Friday nights in the fall are.
Yeah, no doubt about that. It really hasn't felt like the fall until today. I felt like it was still summer-ish until this week. I was glad I was able to finally bust the hoodie out and not still freeze my tail off up here, but it was a lot of fun all year long. Now, you know, if you guys have been following high school football in this area for a while, you know that I was somewhere else before I came here. I just want to say this was so much fun. This was an absolute blast the entire season. I can't tell you just how much fun I've had with all of you guys. And, you know, if you're watching this at home or if you're listening to it at home, you know, there's so much more that goes on than I think a lot of you understand. This is a 4-man crew up here, and everybody works so hard to make sure that you get the best possible finishing product that we could possibly bring you. I've enjoyed doing the play-by-play throughout the year. Max, you've done a phenomenal job providing the colorful analysis throughout the course of the year. And I know that people not only listening on Friday nights appreciate your work, but also in the Junior LCA as well. Speaking of, you'll be back here again tomorrow, right, for the championship?
That's right, very familiar territory as myself and a few other of our crew that are on other parts of our coverage teams here on Friday nights will be here for a 6:30 championship game between, well, the junior version of these Firelands Falcons and Keystone. So can't wait to see the finale of that as well. And like you said, great addition. And this crew, it's been very cohesive, a lot of great chemistry. So really love being a part of it with you guys.
Absolutely. We call ourselves the Lorain County Four Horsemen. We have so much fun every single Friday night. And again, you and I might be the voices that people hear when they tune in, but, you know, the other 2 members of our crew do such a wonderful job as well. You know, Sam Sovacool's been working the camera since day one. And I can't tell you how many times I've gone back and I've rewatched a broadcast and thought, wow, you know, Sam was all over that first down. When they were bringing the chain gang out there, they were measuring. Sam was all over it. I go back to that Week 4 matchup. It was Midview against Amherst. And there was an incredibly close play that was somewhat controversial when Dior Jones had the ball knocked out of his hands as he was going into the end zone. Sam was all over that as well. Those are just 2 small examples throughout an entire 10-game season of the great work that Sam has done working that camera. So, Sam, a wonderful job. Great work all season long. We say it every broadcast. The captain of our ship is the director, Edwin Vereen. And again, there are a lot of different examples I can think of where sometimes the director's doing so many different things. Edwin's trying to put out a fire. He did an awesome job all year long. I can think of one specific example. You know, it was raining like crazy. And, you know, we're trying to make sure that we have the duck effect, right? On the surface, things look calm, but our feet are going crazy under the water. And in that game, Ravon took on Glenville. we had a couple technical difficulties. If you were watching, you probably had no idea. But that's because Edwin was behind the scenes, and he was doing everything he could to make sure that we rectified that situation very quickly. And if you go back and you watch that game, people knew how exciting that was and just how awesome that matchup was. We knew we couldn't miss a second of the action. We didn't, because Edwin was able to fix the issue right away. We were battling the elements. We were kind of crammed into a corner of the press box. Again, that's one example of many throughout the course of the season where Edwin's been lights out as the captain of this ship, directing and making sure that everything comes off clean as it did all throughout the season. So I'm proud to be a member of this crew. You guys all did an awesome job, and it was just a lot of fun to be a part of it, going all the way back to that last Friday night in August, all the way back in Grafton. Big thanks to Gary Tout and the crew back at the Radio Ranch for allowing me to be a part of this as well. We'd like to say thanks to all of you for taking this in every single Friday night. It's been a pleasure to bring all of this action to you, and we certainly hope we get a chance to do that again next season. And to the laundry list of coaches and athletic administrators, the men and women in the press box, and not just this one, the press boxes that we have worked every Friday night going all the way back to the start of the season. We can't do this if you guys don't help us. So a big thanks to you and all the coaches that have been cooperative with us to get us the numbers, the starters, the rosters, the stats, and everything else that we need. So thanks to all of you for contributing and helping us do this every single week. 31-8 is our final tonight. Firelands a winner over Wellington. This is our final broadcast of the season. We invite you to stay tuned to find out where our two radio crews are going, not only next week, but in the weeks to come after that as well, as hopefully our Lorain County teams continue to march further and further in the playoffs. Until then, we invite you to join Dave Grenchinsky, Paul Williams, Maria Janasco, David Q, and Big John back in the studio as they've got the I-90 Nissan and Sheffield Village postgame show coming your way. They'll get you all the final scores. They'll paint that playoff picture for you and talk to the game-winning coaches and players as well. A pleasure, my friend. This was awesome. Look forward to listening to you tomorrow night. Hopefully we get a chance to do this again next year. We have no idea what 2025 is going to look like, but I certainly hope that the Horsemen get a chance to ride throughout Lorain County again. That's going to wrap things up. For Sam Sovacool, Edwin Vereen, and Max Drummond, this is Andy Bolbarch saying thanks again for tuning in to tonight's broadcast here on the Lorain County Sports Network.